Okay, bros. Let's see here. All right. All right, bros. Let's see here. You know, it was a year ago today, bros. Doctor told me I was age 4 and that I had a few weeks to couple weeks to a few months to live. Uh, Here we are. I mean, honestly, here we are. A year later, and still heretics. I credit God for that. No one else. Lord and Savior, he's kept his hand on me, dudes. He's walked this path right by my side. He's held my hand, comforted me. He's don't know how to explain it, bros. Don't know it. It's God. I had story, bros. Taking on medicine. Got while we're talking. A year ago, I was deathly sick. I was about sick. I was dying. I was genuinely dying. And now, honesty, I didn't think we were going to be able to do anything about it. I had done made my peace with God before that because road cross. Before that, I'd done made my peace because I'd had 4 stents put in my heart, and I realized that I was in bad shape. Just didn't know it. And all summer, I had restaurant. All summer, I had tried to. It was just big. This is summer of 23, mind you. I was sick. Couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. The doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They, besides they know that I was deathly sick. I'm talking about my primary oncologist. Summer 23 when it began. I say begun, but I would say for looks of things, how it went. I'd been sick for quite a while, and it just wasn't showing up in my blood. It still doesn't, that I know of. But anyway, Anyway, Dr. Jefferson, love his heart, he went back to Oklahoma before I got to find out. He was getting ready to go back to Oklahoma. And we I'd went to see him, and he talked me right into it. I mean, but when I was back in my 30s, I'd had trouble. They had found on my left lung, they found a nodule, and oh, that's a couple of pills I said I need to put back in it. Anyway, they had found it. They said it was dormant. Don't worry about it. So I did, and 20 years passed. So, and but when I went to they sent me to go CT scan done and stuff, and Dr. Jefferson, he had, I think he had just left. And when he left, I wasn't going to go there anymore because it was just, I didn't think I could replace him as a doctor. He's that good a friend, doctor. I don't use the word friend lightly, dudes. I don't. But anyway, he wasn't having no other way, and I went and did it. My lung doctor, he'd got him. They got to report it, and I went in to see him, and he told me, he said, I think you got cancer. I said, nah, man, I ain't got no cancer. I've had that on my lungs for years. He said, well, nonetheless, I want to do a biopsy. I did that in October. And when they did it, I didn't want to let them do no biopsy. I'm not going to lie, because my brother-in-law's dad, he was a great man as well. Very great man. He had lung cancer, and he didn't even get to live long enough to get treatment for it. But they did a biopsy on him, and his cancer spread real bad. And I just always said I'd not let him do a biopsy, but I ended up doing it anyway. In all honesty, I mean, I just did. I don't know why. My sister, she had talked to me about it, and she kept on till I did. I let them do a biopsy because they were adamant it was cancer. They just didn't know how bad. And so I went and they did a biopsy on me. My brother-in-law, of his heart, he went with me. And he went with me, and they told me it had it done. They give me the reports in a day or two. Well, they called me and told me to go to the cancer center. So I went to the cancer center, and they give me an oncologist. And Dr. Barr was his name. But they get me an oncologist, and they told me that, he told me, he said, well, not that bad. Uh, we can cure you. Well, that's good. Then the oncologist that does the radiation, she looked at it, my reports, and she said, uh, I can cure you. I said, I hope you can. That's the exact words I told her. I hope you can. Well, I went. I started radiation. That was in November. I gotta use the bathroom, guys. I started radiation. That was in when? That was in October or November. November, they started my radiation. I became sicker. A lot sicker. And you could tell it. You could tell it. Very sick, dudes. The radiation was killing me. From another one of my lung ways close to my heart. Well, you know, well, I took the treatments. She wanted to keep going. She wanted to go ahead and put me on chemo, keep going. And I liked that idea. Well, all this time of it, I was hurting terrible in my stomach and my back, which I still do to the day. Terrible. And they wouldn't come out and say it. They thought my cancer had done spread it. So they sent me to Jackson, Ohio for another biopsy. My liver. So it was, they sent me for an MRI. Did my stomach. Well, the results come back, and I went, son of a bitch, man. They talked me right into it again to another biopsy. I did that at Hoser out there at Gallipolis. I live Mason County. Where I live now is where I'm from. Yep. And anyway, we they did it. It was like they. I walked in and he told me, he said, I wish I had good news to give you. I said, I already know that cancer spread. I expected this. Well, he was sitting there about to cry. My sister was sitting there crying. Here I am, trying to condole him, telling him it was going to be all right. And my sister asked him, said, how long has he got? And I'm back frozen. He said, well, my opinion, he's got about a couple weeks, few months at the most. That was what he said. Uh, I said, well, I ain't trying to be a smart ass or nothing, but I've got as long as the good Lord wants to let me live here. That's how long I have. And I just never believed that no man could take you your death. I mean, not saying they're animals or nothing of the sort. They don't know what they're talking about. Saying the will of a man. And like I said, I done made my peace. Lived or died, I felt. If I live, I'm God's. If I die, I'm God's. But either way, I win. So they uh, they checked me out. It was I was stage 4 lung cancer, and it spread to my liver. We're on a crossroad, bros. I don't know Thursday coming. Maybe I'll get a no. I know I got 3 more. After the one Thursday, I'll have 2. February and March. It's gonna be this cycle's complete. Um, we're going on the defensive. If ever it could be took out of me, it'd be now. But it can't be took out of me. That we know for sure. I'll die. I'll die on the operating table. So, chemo pills and Keytruda. Possibly. Will be some kind of defensive and keep it fed out, but that's their next stage in it. So these bros don't get me wrong. When as I'm talking about this, because I'm not trying to downplay it or upplay it. That's what I said from the start when I found out I had cancer. That I would not say anything that I didn't know was factual truth. Like right now, I honestly don't know what direction we're going to go. He had talked of giving me chemo pills and Keytruda pills to keep my cancer fed out. So that would be the one thing that we would know for sure. That is that, to my knowledge, that is the road my oncologist wants to take. And he's a great doctor, and ever how he wants to do, I'm totally down for it because I think my well-being and is his main goal.
Autopilot mode enabled.
I don't know. I'll be either on it. I can't pronounce his name that great. sure is a good feller. Dr. Clay, they got rid of him.
Battle starts.
Uh, he caused me to go off for him. And I don't do that. I used to when I was young, but that was the first time I did that in years that I went off. I'd been constipated since before Thanksgiving. And it's just all come up in one day, man. But I got my biopsy, I was getting red. I couldn't move. My back was killing me. My stomach was killing me. Just combinations of things. So, and I was frustrated. I didn't know what they done with that. All I know is
Enemy force sighted on the horizon.
at that point I know for sure they had stopped because it was killing me. Well, like I said, they I
Enemy
went
cruiser
in
sighted. Enemy destroyer sighted.
said all this and all that, and I told him, I said, I just like suffer like this. I just go ahead and let that crank up.
Reporting a target
It's
position.
been sarcastic.
Destination reached. Autopilot mode disabled.
Enemy battleship detected.
Smoke generator started.
In all honesty, it was just being sarcastic. And, but I mean, that was enough. Next thing I know, they was wheeling me over into the hospital
Torpedoes dead
and
ahead.
trying to figure out
Our team has taken the
I was
lead.
going to try to kill myself.
Smoke screen set.
Concentrate fire on the enemy warship.
Like I said, man. Poor sister, she cried all the way home.
Concentrate fire on the enemy warship.
She did, man. It just tore me up. I tell you. Hey, no, you don't worry. The Lord's taking care of me. She made me promise I wouldn't give up until I would make it straight. I did
Our
promise
victory
her
is
that.
in sight.
I did. Heart, I meant that I would. And, one of them went. So they started my chemo the following week, and they did my chemo the following week. And here we are today. I've I about died twice the past year. In August, I got pneumonia with sepsis. They about killed me. I had to be put in the hospital. A few months ago, I started having bad reactions to the Keytruda. I couldn't breathe. They were really worried I was going to die then. This past treatment, I vomited a whole month. ever treatment of convict. Well, I have. There's no need to lie, dudes. That's the thing about me, and you'll learn it real quick. I don't lie. I don't believe in it. I feel that it's like it's better to keep your mouth shut and and say you don't know if you don't know. And in the case of my cancer, there's been quite a few times I didn't know, so I wouldn't say nothing. But I'd try to keep people informed and tell them that I can't tell you much because I don't know. And there's no need to lie about it. If you don't know, don't play when you don't. And I didn't. And, but regardless, I'm here today. That God said, no, I got plans for you. You're staying. And that's the way I see it. That God has a bigger plan for me. That this is my trials to show my devotion.
Autopilot mode enabled.
People says God doesn't work miracles. Well, at 14 oncologist, I'll say I had a few weeks, a couple months, a few weeks, or couple
Action
weeks,
stations.
months at most. That's what he told me. And when they changed me to Dr. Hyman, my sister asked him. She just wants to know what's best for me. She doesn't care to ask either. But she asked him. Told him that what we got. He said, well, I think he's got as long left as he wants. He said he seems to be really tough and he's a strong-willed person. So he said, so if I had to bet, I'll bet on him. That meant a lot. So here we are a year later.
Enemy force sighted on the horizon.
So, who am I to say? Dudes, who am I to say?
Enemy battleship detected.
Autopilot mode disabled.
Destroyer detected.
You gotta try to get doctor and stuff done.
Detected. Enemy cruiser sighted. Ship is on fire. Critical engine damage.
Smoke generator started. Torpedoes to port.
Enemy cruiser foundered.
Problem solved, sir.
No.
We're hull below the waterline. We're flooding quickly. Torpedoes, direct front. Our team has taken the lead. Enemy destroyer sighted. Enemy cruiser sighted.
Oh. Excuse me. But that's like I was saying. Okay, I blowed out. Me too, bro. Daggone, that's a BDs, bro. But anyway, that's what I've been doing last year, bro. So I've took 18 rounds. Game off. As of right now.
Our team has taken the lead.
Come Thursday the 16th. I'll do after that. So, hey, Rose. Now, honestly, it's all there. Yeah, I don't know where it's going to go from here. We've talked, but never said it was short. But we'll find out. What we're going to do to prevent defense while we have it measurable so that'll do it. The way I take it is we came on control the bills. Whatever else. But that's honestly all right now. Yeah, I can't say I got a big bunch of worries and all this stuff, dudes, because I don't. I honestly don't. Happy we're where we are. They can't cut it out of me, so best I can. Wish it was ever the way done. It's not. It's going away. Well, 1, 2, it is. I'm gonna reset this sucker. Fire one should have. All right. Oh my goodness, man. I didn't mean to do. I don't want to check and see how many more we had left to do, but yeah. These are Turtle Beach Stealth 600s. That was one of my Christmas presents. Real nice controller as well. I mean, dude, it's like this.
Autopilot mode enabled.
Battle starts.
Such a anything, bros. I don't.
Engine boost activated.
But I haven't given up. I don't plan on giving up. And no one should. You think you can't fire it, bros? Lower your head and pray. God, I'm three first. Any of that, dudes. I've tried. So much pain. And as a man, that's hard to admit. But I've often said I'll lie or hide it. It's cancer.
Enemy force detected.
Engine boost deactivated.
Enemy cruiser detected. Enemy battleship sighted.
Autopilot mode disabled.
We got one out there, couple, ours. 5 more, 4 more, 4 or 5 more. We'll run the splits, splitting that crab her, baby. But oh, we've kind of want my dockyard chip, dudes. I've missed the last 2, and I've paid for them, and I've missed them. I'd like to not do that this time here, so we haven't got a whole hell of a lot of days left. That's why you even see me play with a destroyer, because I'm trying to get through these semi-quickly as possible.
General quarters.
Autopilot mode enabled.
Wanna see me ride dirty? Dirty boy. But I like to get this over with here, brothers. I hope we get something more easier next one. Really did not mean to get behind like I am either, dudes. Like I said, I've been sick, and it's normal for me to be sick, dudes. Really not an excuse. Wait anyway.
Enemy force detected. Enemy cruiser sighted. Enemy battleship detected.
Torpedoes, direct front. Torpedoes, dead ahead.
Autopilot mode disabled.
Critical engine damage.
Our team has taken the lead. Enemy destroyer foundered.
Problem solved, sir. Smoke generator started. Smoke screen set.
Our victory is in sight. Our victory is in sight.
Okay.
Enemy cruiser sunk.
Well, there comes another one right after, but that don't matter. Might have been enough, maybe, maybe not. Hopefully it was. Winnebago, Winnebago, probably wasn't. We're lacking one. You're lacking one, bro. Okay. We still need one. Well, we used the stove roast, yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was that. Alrighty, man. Alrighty. Okay, so we can quit using those. Like the big battle banners. We need some incapacitated. We do, we do. Ooh, let's see. Hang on, Rosa. Yes, got one. What? I am a boy. let's see here. How many incapacitated? Got 61 of 120. I need 60 more. Well, at least I can go back to making, oh, wait a minute. Take it. Zero max. Speed trials, okay. Oh my goodness, that much? Damn. Yeah. Well, let's put it back on. And they call it puppy love.
Autopilot mode enabled.
Battle starts.
Whoa, I have to make up some cash because
Awaiting instructions.
hopefully I can.
Enemy force sighted on the horizon. Enemy destroyer sighted.
The ship is on fire.
Enemy battleship detected. Enemy cruiser sighted. Enemy battleship sighted.
Problem solved, sir. direct front. Main turret critically damaged.
Autopilot mode disabled.
Hull breach. We're taking on water quickly. Torpedoes, direct front. Torpedoes, dead ahead. Torpedo tubes destroyed.
We've sunk an enemy destroyer.
Enemy destroyer sighted. Enemy battleship.
Target penetrated. We've destroyed an enemy cruiser. Enemy cruiser sunk.
That is what it is. I can't hold back, I won't go back down. 'Cause it's too late to turn back now. Boy.
Our team has taken the lead.
Power up. But we'll be fine, kind of, maybe. Hopefully. Hope so, you know.
battle starts.
Awaiting instructions.
Okay, gross. Right over here.
Enemy force detected. Enemy cruiser sighted.
The ship is on fire. Torpedoes, direct front.
We've destroyed an enemy cruiser.
Torpedoes, direct front.
Man. I want that. Try it again. Let's see what we got this time here. Well, like that. More days of battle pass. That'll put us up to what? 40 something. We're good on battle pass. Let's do it again. won't go out the map this way.
Autopilot mode enabled.
Let's give them a hard time.
General quarters.
Thank you.
Waiting instructions.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Uh,
Enemy force detected.
Autopilot mode disabled.
Enemy cruiser detected. Enemy heavily damaged.
We've destroyed an enemy cruiser.
Enemy battleship detected. Confirmed penetration.
Our team has taken the lead. Torpedoes to port.
warship foundered.
Good deal, good deal. As long as we win, that's good. Still not almost a million, why not? Sir. Damn, them incapacitated ones are going slow, ain't they, dudes? Almost got 70 of them. Okay. No. Don't have enough for the last dudes. You don't gotta redistribute none of these. Buddy, I don't know. Why? I can lie to you and tell you I know it all about it, but I don't. Yeah, wish to dead.
Autopilot mode enabled.
I think that,
Action stations.
I think we'll be okay as far as that goes, you know. Maybe. Hopefully, yeah.
Awaiting instructions.
Enemy force detected. Enemy battleship sighted. Enemy cruiser sighted. Enemy battleship detected.
Autopilot mode disabled.
Enemy cruiser sighted.
The ship is on fire. Problem solved. Torpedoes to starboard.
Enemy battleship sighted. Enemy destroyer sighted.
Target penetrated.
We got this.
Torpedoes to starboard. We're hull below the waterline. We're flooding quickly.
We destroyed an enemy battleship.
Problem solved, sir.
Enemy battleship sunk.
Oh, crap. Sucks. We got We'll see what's going on in the news and stuff today or as well, dudes. I haven't been sunned in. Really listened to it. Oh, well, I mean, bros. Let's see. Let's start with
Auto insurance all seems the same until it's time to use it.
there we go. We'll listen to
for this crisis. He called you incompetent. We do know, though, from reporting here locally that that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full. That's what you take it as, that President-elect Trump is threatening the first responders. Forgive me for interrupting you, but you did invite him to come out here. Have you had any response?
No. The reservoirs are completely full, the state reservoirs here in Southern California.
In this video today, Gavin Newsom gets exactly what he deserves when he gets fact-checked by an NBC reporter during another disastrous interview. Also, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance had some words for Gavin Newsom. These stories and more in this video today, but let's start with what J.D. Vance had to say about Gavin Newsom.
We have to do a better job. We need competent, good governance. Now, that doesn't mean you can't criticize the governor of California for, I think, some very bad decisions over a very long period of time. I mean, some of these reservoirs have been dry for 15, 20 years. The fire hydrants are being reported as going dry while the firefighters are trying to put out these fires. There is a serious lack of competent governance in California, and I think it's part of the reason why these fires have gotten so bad. We need to do a better job at both the state and federal level.
Now, everything that J.D. Vance was saying is spot on. And my only thing, I guess my takeaway here would be, I'd be shocked to see what success Gavin Newsom will have in his political future. I just don't see it at this point. But hey, some people call him a cockroach because every time he screws up, he still finds a way to get elected or rewarded. So we'll see. Now, here's what Trump had to say late last night about these fires. He writes this: the fires are still raging in Los Angeles. The incompetent fools have no idea how to put them out. Thousands of magnificent houses are gone, and many more will soon be lost. There is a death all over the place. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the history of our country. They just can't put out the fires. What's wrong with the question? Now, a lot of people are going to obviously be triggered over that, and they're going to think he's attacking the firefighters. I don't. I believe he's attacking the leadership, of course, and he's applying pressure because at the end of the day, if we don't hold these people's feet to the fire, I mean, sooner or later, we have to have a coming to Jesus moment with these individuals. So I don't think we should let up on the pressure. I don't think we should let up on the criticism. I think it's well deserved. What I want to do is actually show you this clip from Gavin Newsom where he doubles down on the lie about the reservoirs being filled. That's number one. And two, he actually throws the local leaders under the bus. I mean, you think after so many of these appearances, someone has already told him to stop doing interviews because he continues to politicize this entire situation. Let's take a look at that right now.
I called for him to come out, take a look for himself. We want to do it in the spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist. He's the president-elect. I respect the office. We have a president of the United States that within 36 hours provided a major disaster declaration over a text. We had support from the president of the United States, Joe Biden, with 100% reimbursement, all the resources you could hope for or imagine, constant communication. I'd like to extend that to the president-elect. I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt and reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full, the state reservoirs here in Southern California. That disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
Well, it seems to me that America is very familiar with Democrats continuing to be obsessed with Trump. Yeah. And it's as if Trump lives rent-free in their minds, okay? Sure they breathe, they eat, they dream, they loathe, they hate, they love. Everything about Trump, because everything is Trump's fault, and they can't seem to take any level of accountability. And I just have to say this too: Gavin Newsom is not stupid, okay? He's very smart and savvy politically. He's saying what he's saying intentionally. He knows he doesn't have to react, respond, or even comment on whatever Trump is saying. He's choosing to do so because he's playing politics and trying to control the narrative. Now, watch what this reporter ends up asking the governor.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation, to understand what was happening with that local reservoir. That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate, also incomprehensible to anyone that understands water policy in the state.
So what he's suggesting is that that reservoir is not state controlled. So if it was empty, it has nothing to do with him. So it has everything to do with the local officials, which is why he launched the investigation. Okay. And then secondly, the Delta smelt, which Trump is accurate. Now, you may dispute the details of what Trump was saying, but the conclusions are the same, which is what? The environmentalists are the ones that held up building more reservoirs, building more dams, and a lot of that was happening due to a couple of reasons. One is the Delta smelt, which is a fish that they still have not 110% confirmed is actually in danger of being extinct. That's the first thing. And secondly, in the name of climate change. Now, let me show you one more clip from Gavin Newsom, where he is lying so much that the reporter has to literally challenge him and fact check him in real time about what Trump actually said. Watch this.
I've been pretty expressive about that in the context of someone threatening our first responders in terms of supporting the immediacy of their needs.
That's what you take it as, that President-elect Trump is threatening the first responders here.
Well, I mean, it's what he said. He said, I'm not going to support the firefighting efforts. I'm not going to support the state of California as it relates to its emergency management. He made this pretty clear during the election, unless they do my bidding.
Yeah, and that's why there's a petition that launched to get him recalled that is going around online. I'll also link that in the description like I did with Mayor Karen Bass. Now, speaking of the disgraced mayor who clearly is lacking confidence around this entire emergency, she was at a press conference earlier today, and she had this to say about Trump potentially visiting the area.
Is the incoming president expected to come here?
I believe so. I mean, I certainly... It was a positive response, yes.
Yeah, you know, I will say, knowing what I know, and I represent Altadena, which is probably the most diverse community that in the 5th District, this is the exact constituency that he was talking to. You've got socioeconomics from all walks of life, and they are suffering. So I am confident that this president will come.
Well, and my conversation also yesterday was throwing around possible points of timing.
Now, a very important fact about all of this, if Trump does visit the area, airspace will have to be blocked off, traffic will have to be blocked off, and we already know it's already a congested nightmare. So nobody really needs the president to visit right now. Now, the only reason why President Biden was there is because he was already there, and the fires just happened to happen while he was there, of course. Now, let's get back to Mayor Karen Bass, because she just put up a video this morning where she got ratioed repeatedly on social media, ripped for the way she was delivering the message, and all of it has really to do with her lack of confidence, not the color of her skin, not her gender, all these other things that people like to bring up. It just is the lack of confidence. Check this out.
Angelinos, we're still going through it, and to any of you and all of you that have experienced a loss, the grief, the anger, the just utter shock, I've seen the devastation. It is unbelievable the amount of loss that people have experienced. But we have to get through this crisis, and I know that we will. I was at the Sylmar command post today, and I saw the work of our first responders and how they've been able to defeat the fires in certain areas. We know we still have much more to go, and we know the winds are going to kick up again. But we got to stick together. We got to stand strong. And then we have to rebuild our city.
All right. Now, before I even react to what she just said and the announcement that Gavin Newsom just made, I would like for us to hear from today's sponsor of this video, the Wellness Company. So big changes are on the horizon. Very soon, Trump will be back in office, and RFK Jr. will be taking over the CDC, NIH, and the FDA. This is why he posted that the FDA's war on public health is about to end, calling out their suppression of treatments like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and essential vitamins. This is why the Wellness Company is already ahead of the curve with the emergency kits that are stocked with these limited access medications. So be prepared for over 30 illnesses without stepping into an urgent care and tackling the issue head on. before it even develops. Their guidebook outlines common treatments for UTIs, strep throat, bacteria infections, respiratory illnesses, and more. All it takes is filling out a digital intake form and your kit arrives at your door in 1 to 2 weeks. And they even have emergency kits for kids. So order your kit now by heading over to twc.health/Devori and use the code Devori to save up to $30 off plus free shipping. Now, the first thing about this message and why she's getting so much flack for it is because more details have come out and showed the actual timeline of when decisions were made. In particular, the fires were already raging, and then they declared the emergency. They actually should have declared the emergency before the fires actually broke out because they got the warning 2 days before. So that's number one. Secondly, we know that when she was leaving to go to Africa, she was already notified about this stuff. And of course, now Gavin Newsom has announced an executive order that would not require permits to start the rebuilding process in these damaged areas. Let's read that really quick. So his office put this post up 6 hours ago. Goodbye, red tape. Through an executive order, we are making it easier for victims of the SoCal fires to quickly rebuild their homes and lives. Also, we're extending key price gouging protections to help make rebuilding more affordable. Now, I'm going to get to the whole price gouging thing because you're going to find this next clip interesting. But in regards to this entire executive order to get rid of the permit process and the environmental permit process as well, there's it's starting to expose the problem with California. The fact that you had to issue this executive order to begin with proves that California is up to here as it pertains to regulation and red tape, and no wonder things can't get done. Now, in regards to the price gouging point that he made, there's actually two different conversations here, and we're only going to focus on one. But the first one is he's referencing the actual building materials to rebuild the homes. He does not want these companies jacking up prices because obviously it would get too expensive, and building materials in California are already too expensive, by the way. But we're not really focused on that. We're focused on this one. Now what's happening is the rental market is skyrocketing because clearly the demand for people to find a place to stay is at an all-time high at this point. And let me show you a clip from this realtor who exposes this, but I think she has the wrong mindset about it. Check this out.
I'm looking at rentals right now for a fire victim. And as a real estate professional, the numbers that I'm seeing, whether it's LA County or Ventura County, it's absolutely disgusting. If the gouging is out of control already, I'm seeing things double. I'm seeing rentals in Oxnard for $25,000 a month. Okay, I'm just it blows my mind that a homeowner can actually look at the situation and think it's okay to put a price like that. And for a realtor to agree to do it. Okay, I said it. I know that we have a fiduciary duties with our clients, but this is a disaster that we're going through. Let's be better humans. If you are a homeowner and you are putting your house on the market for rent, please put yourself in these people's shoes because it might be you one day.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way, offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, as someone who lives in California who's definitely familiar with the rental market, I can tell you right now what she is saying is not 110% true, meaning could you find at least one individual who's jacked up their rental price after posting it to the market? Yeah, but is everybody doing it? No. And so what I have on the screen here is just showing you some of the prices and why they actually make sense. So for an example, this one, if I actually go to the city, she was talking about Oxnard, a very beautiful area, by the way. She said that she saw a listing there for $25,000. Now, I can't find the listing that she was referencing, but if we take this one that is $20,000, okay, you're talking about 3,500 square feet. It's on the water, Okay, you have a dock, 4-bedroom, 3-bath. Yeah, that makes sense. And Zillow tells you the history, right? So if I go down here and I look at the history, the last time they rented it out was 2022 for $12,000. Well, we're in 2025 now. So I don't know. I'm not seeing what she's seeing on that front. And here's one more for good measure. This one's $10,000 a month, 4-bedroom, 5-bath, 3,500 square feet, for $10,000. Not bad. It's a vacation place. And if I scroll down, the price actually went down. Okay, they originally posted it for $10,000. They upped it to $14,000. They came back down to $10,000. So I'm not too sure where she is getting at. Now, James Woods, he put this up. Client of our friend were trying to lease a house while their home was being renovated. The lease was for $18,000 per month. They were to sign the papers the day of the fire. Now the people renting want $30,000. The vultures are circling and the flames aren't even out yet. Now, he is correct for being upset, and a lot of people are going to be upset. But this is called the free market, supply and demand, which brings me to my overall reaction, because the media is going to go with this rhetoric. They're going to say that people are trying to price gouge or trying to take advantage. No, if you have a product or service that the demand of that product and service has tripled overnight, you could set the price of whatever people are willing to pay for. If someone's willing to pay $30,000 a month, you're not wrong for charging $30,000 a month. If people won't pay it, you can't charge it. It's that simple, and I believe it's the fairest way to approach this, because what we don't want is what Gavin Newsom already announced, which was to get the government involved and control what people can charge and what they can't. Now, speaking of the media, they're also going to push this next narrative, which is that it's Trump and Elon Musk's fault for spreading all of the misinformation that you are seeing online. And here is none other than Jen Psaki herself talking about this. Watch.
And with these fires still burning, we are facing important questions about how to mitigate and prevent disasters like this in the future. The fact is, leaders will need to confront a very complicated and challenging reality moving forward. But right now, that is not exactly what is happening. Instead, Donald Trump and his allies are injecting half-truths, misinformation, and flat-out lies in some cases in order to score a version of political points, I suppose.
Now, let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say that what she was saying is absolutely true, that Trump, Elon, they're trying to score political points. If that is the case, then what would you call this from Adam Schiff? Watch.
In your talk with first responders, with local officials, what's your understanding? Why did so many of those fire hydrants simply run dry? Was there something to do with that 117 million gallon reservoir in the Palisades that was out of operation? What's your understanding? What's your initial read on this?
Well, my initial take, and I certainly want a full review of this so that I can form a more complete understanding of the matter. But my initial understanding is the reservoirs that the Palisades were drawing on, these 3 million gallon reservoirs, were full at the initiation of these fires. But they're intended, frankly, they have the capacity to put out homes that maybe house multiple houses, not if the whole town is up in flames. And most particularly not.
So getting back to what Jen Psaki was saying. So Adam Schiff clearly does not want to acknowledge the empty reservoir that's actually been empty for a couple of years now. That could have obviously made an impact. Now, would it have stopped the devastation? No. But could it have maybe saved a life or two, a neighborhood or two? Possibly. That's better than nothing, right? Secondly, when he says that the infrastructure is set up to combat fires of a neighborhood but not the entire city, he's right, which begs the question, why didn't the mayor declare an emergency when she left for Africa? Why did the deputy mayor declare emergency? Now, let me show you another clip of more delusion, and this is the FEMA administrator who's been making her rounds to obviously combat what they are calling misinformation, or what we call incompetence. They asked her this question about why is it that Los Angeles clearly was unprepared for this disaster, Hear what she said.
So I know the winds themselves are rare for this particular time of year, but Los Angeles and the area, they got a lot of experience with wildfires. They have a lot of regulation and a large firefighting force. Do you have a sense at this point why the area was so unprepared?
I think that they were very prepared. This is something that they are very used to. They fight fires all the time, but they have never seen 100-mile-an-hour winds that are fueling the fire. And those winds and that weather condition is what really impacts, where this fire is going to go, but more importantly, how they're able to try to contain it in those first few hours and days. And because it was in such a populated area, it just makes it that much more challenging to be able to get in there and secure the perimeter, but as well try to save as many homes as possible.
Now, let me explain why I said that she is delusional, because it doesn't matter how prepared the firefighters are. How can they do their job if they don't have the resources? How can they do their job if the water is low? How could they do their job if the infrastructure doesn't support what we are asking them to do? And more importantly, they were not prepared for the incompetence, the delay, and lack of decision-making from the leadership. Let's just call it what it is. So therein lies the truth. They're not going to tell you that. Only the fire chief, to her credit, came out publicly and said that. She's the only one who's actually told the truth up to this point. Everybody else has been political, even though they keep asking people not to make this political. So this brings us to the question I'd love for you guys to answer in the comment section below. Who's really responsible for spreading the disinformation that you guys have been seeing online? Is it more Gavin Newsom, Mayor Karen Bass, conservatives, liberals, or the fake news media? Who do you think is spreading the most disinformation? Put your thoughts about all of that in the comment section below. Now, speaking about disinformation or misinformation, there was a couple of bombshell stories that exposed the true incompetence and scandal coming from Gavin Newsom. And we shot a video about it last night. And so if you missed it and you want to find out how deep this corruption really goes, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.
There's another one. There it is. It's Sunny Hostin deal.
Want the effects of Viagra, but faster? Meet Rose Sparks. They contain sildenafil and tadalafil, but Sparks dissolve under the tongue.
Married, Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to some nefarious stuff. But let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures, and look at her track record. How many times does she have to go on in the past 2 months and look at the camera and do a legal apology for all the stuff that she said on the show?
The morning the scandal broke started off just like any other, coffee in hand, scrolling through the news. But then something caught my eye. The name Sunny Hostin popped up, but not for her usual fiery commentary on The View. No, this time it was about her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, and the headlines weren't flattering. Dr. Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon, and his practice, Host Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, were suddenly at the center of a storm. The accusations, insurance fraud, kickbacks, and, wait for it, being part of a sprawling RICO lawsuit involving a jaw-dropping 180 defendants. That's not a court case, folks. That's an ensemble cast. But before we dive into the drama, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the twists and turns of this Hollywood-sized scandal. Let's break it down for those who might not be fluent in legalese.
I agree with mostly everything that's been said. I mean, we know that, only about 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system. And, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
The RICO Act, or the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, was originally designed to take down organized crime syndicates. Think mobs, gangsters, shady dealings. But here's the twist, it's not the mafia in the hot seat this time. It's doctors, surgeons, and entire medical practices. Suddenly the courtroom drama feels less like Goodfellas and more like Grey's Anatomy, but with a side of fraud. The lawsuit claims Dr. Hostin and others orchestrated a scheme to game the healthcare system. Allegedly, they received kickbacks for performing unnecessary surgeries and billing insurance companies for procedures that may not have even been done. Picture this, patients going under the knife, insurance companies footing the bill, and behind the scenes, money changing hands like it's a poker night at the hospital.
I've been waiting my whole life for this one. Orthopedic surgeon and husband for The View host, Sonny Hostin, has been named in a federal lawsuit alleging insurance fraud. She got on television. She got in. She run. These women tell me why she got her husband is named in a lawsuit in insurance fraud, and I'm gonna show you exhibit. Let me say exhibit B. Can you show this to the jury? Roll it, Nick.
You know, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, you know, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance. And they're talking about threatening him with insurance fraud. I would say you could get about 20 years in prison, so that's a death sentence for him.
Now, here's where it gets juicy. The lawsuit specifically accuses Dr. Hostin of getting financial incentives for recommending or performing arthroscopic surgeries, those minimally invasive procedures that use a camera to look inside joints. On the surface, these surgeries are legit, but the lawsuit claims some weren't medically necessary at all. Were these patients really in need of knee or shoulder surgeries, or was someone chasing a paycheck? If true, the allegations are wild. This could be a level of corruption that makes a soap opera love triangle look tame. Imagine the betrayal, patients trusting their doctor, only to later find out they were nothing more than pawns in a financial game. It's the kind of betrayal that hits you right where it hurts, literally.
It's always the people that always do the pointing, and it always comes back to them, all right? So when you said this is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York, you guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia case. Like the mafia one was number one. This one takes it over. So he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange for the kickbacks.
But on the other side of this case, we have American Transit Insurance Company, or ATIC, the plaintiff. They claim they've been defrauded out of millions, alleging they were billed for surgeries that either didn't happen or weren't necessary. It's like paying for a steak and getting tofu instead. But let's be real, insurance companies don't exactly have a spotless reputation. They've been accused of underpaying doctors, denying claims, and using every trick in the book to avoid paying out. So the question is ATIC genuinely trying to expose a massive healthcare scam?
With this 10-second salt trick, your buddy will rise like a SpaceX rocket and won't stop until your woman begs for mercy in bed. I used to work as a cameraman for one of the biggest adult film companies in the US back.
Scam? Or is this just a way for a near bankrupt company to pin the blame on someone else?
According to a new lawsuit obtained by Page Six, the orthopedic surgeon was one of 200 defendants named in one of the biggest racketeer influence and corrupt organization cases ever filed in New York. Emmanuel was accused of federal insurance fraud and, quote, getting kickbacks by performing surgery and billing a company that insured taxi companies and Uber and Lyft drivers.
Dr. Hostin's lawyer, Daniel Thwaites, didn't hold back. He slammed the lawsuit as a meritless attempt by Attic to recover losses, calling it a desperate move by a company on the brink of financial ruin. His defense strategy, paint Attic as the villain. It's a classic move. When you're under attack, you turn the spotlight on your accuser, and trust me, it's enough to keep the courtroom drama sizzling. Now, while Dr. Hostin fights for his reputation in the courts, his wife, Sonny Hostin, has been conspicuously silent. Known for tackling tough issues head-on on The View, Sonny's usually not one to shy away from controversy. Yet, on this topic, she's gone radio silent. Why? Is she standing by her husband, distancing herself, or just waiting for her legal team team to tell her what to say. Fans are buzzing, with some speculating she's protecting her public image, while others think she's keeping quiet to avoid becoming a target herself. Either way, her silence speaks volumes. But here's the kicker. This isn't just about Dr. Hostin. He's one of 180 defendants named in the lawsuit, which also includes other doctors, medical practices, and even hospitals. If the allegations are true, this conspiracy could be one of the largest medical fraud cases in recent history. An entire network of corruption, exploiting loopholes in the healthcare system for millions, all at the expense of patients and insurance companies.
Yeah, buddy, I mean, I don't know. Biggest RICO case in New York, I'd saying something. They tried the mafia in New York, so. All right, let's see here.
Well, there is a woman over the weekend who took it upon herself to research my family history in hopes of digging up some kind of a gotcha moment, a gotcha angle to validate illegal immigration and open borders. And what she found was really shocking, guys. She found that my family who came here in the 1800s from Norway and Germany, that they spoke Norwegian and German.
Okay.
And really what she did is prove that my family came here legal.
Daytime TV has always had its share of drama, but every so often, a moment comes along that leaves everyone talking. Enter the fiery showdown between conservative commentator Tomi Lahren and The View co-host Sunny Hostin. What started as a debate on immigration policies quickly escalated into an all-out, emotionally charged argument about ancestry, hypocrisy, and what it truly means to be American.
The idea that immigrants come over here and they don't know anything and they're dragging us down, because we all come from immigrants, including you, Tomi Lahren.
She talks about low skills. What exactly are her skills?
Her second great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh my gosh. 1930 census says Tommy's 3 times great-grandmother had been here for 41 years and still spoke German. She didn't speak English.
But before we dive into the drama, make sure to hit like and subscribe so you never miss out on the latest Hollywood buzz and hot takes. To set the stage, Tomi Lahren is no stranger to stirring the pot with her bold, unwavering views on immigration. Known for her stance on merit-based immigration, Lahren has been a vocal advocate for following legal channels to enter the United States, making her a polarizing figure in political debates. On the flip side, Sunny Hostin has consistently pushed for a more compassionate approach to immigration, challenging the conservative narrative at every turn. It was only a matter of time before these two clashed. The fuse was lit when Hostin took a cue from Ancestry.com, digging into Lahren's family history to make her point. Hostin pointed out that Lahren's ancestors, who immigrated from Norway and Germany in the 1800s, didn't speak English for years after settling in the US. This, she implied, contradicted Lahren's stance on modern immigration policy, suggesting a hypocrisy in Lahren's argument. But what could have been a thoughtful discussion quickly turned into an emotional spectacle. True to her style, Lahren didn't back down.
Well, there is a woman over the weekend who took it upon herself to research my family history in hopes of digging up some kind of a gotcha moment, a gotcha angle to validate illegal immigration and open borders. And what she found was really shocking, guys. She found that my family who came here in the 1800s from Norway and Germany, that they spoke Norwegian and German.
Okay.
And really what she did is prove that my family came here legally.
She leaned into the personal attack, using it as a springboard to double down on her beliefs. She emphasized that her ancestors followed the legal process and built their lives without government assistance, a key distinction in her mind between past and present immigration. Regardless of where you stand, you have to give it to Lahren for staying composed under fire. The moment Hostin brought up Lahren's family tree, it became clear. This wasn't just a policy debate anymore. Hostin was no longer challenging ideas. She was targeting Lahren personally. While some applauded Hostin's move to expose what they saw as hypocrisy, others felt it was a low blow that deflected from the real issue: how to address today's immigration challenges.
And for them to go that deep in your background, you have gotten under their skin to a level I didn't think was possible. What is it about you that bothers them so much?
Well, it's not just me. It's anybody who advocates for merit-based immigration or has an issue with open borders. And again, just like you said, they don't seem to understand that we on the right believe in immigration.
The debate evolved into a battle over whether immigration today can even be compared to that of the 1800s. On the surface, the comparison seems fair. After all, both involved people seeking better opportunities in a new land. But as Laren pointed out, immigration back then was largely unregulated, with people flocking to claim land and build their futures. Today, the issue is complex, shaped by laws, security concerns, and a modern welfare state. It's apples to oranges, and this clash of perspectives became the heart of their heated exchange. For Hostin, pointing out that Laren's ancestors didn't assimilate immediately is a way of illustrating that cultural integration has always been a gradual process. For Laren, it was proof that her family followed the rules and contributed without expecting handouts, an essential distinction in today's immigration debate. This divide reflects a larger rift in how Americans view immigration, shaped by history, identity, and political ideology.
I do believe that the immigration crisis of today is apples to oranges from what it was in the 1800s when immigrants came to this country legally, were documented, worked for themselves, asked for nothing, and built a life and a family. That has nothing to do with the illegal immigration crisis of today that we must deal with.
But don't be fooled into thinking this was just a policy dispute. Hostin's personal attack turned the exchange into something far more compelling and divisive. By bringing up Lauren's great-great-grandmother, Hostin wasn't just questioning Lauren's argument, but her credibility and integrity. Sure, debating ideas is one thing, but digging into someone's family history to make a political point, that's bold. Lauren, however, didn't just defend her family's choices, she flipped the script. With humor and poise, she made light of the situation, poking fun at Hostin's genealogist skills. Instead of letting the attack defeat her, she used it as a platform to rally her supporters. The fallout? Swift and intense, with social media lighting up with opinions from both sides. Some saw Hostin's research as a clever way to expose hypocrisy. Others felt it was a desperate attempt to discredit Laren.
I lost my job at a conservative network because I said I was pro-choice. That's a big no-no. There, it was a big no-no. You know, I offended the community. I went on The View and I said,
My daughter was diagnosed with medulloblastoma. Lily lost the ability to walk, talk, and all of her motor functions.
Point that a feeling that I've had for a long time. I'm very limited government. Like, that's just me. I'm not pro-abortion. I'm just very limited government. That's my perspective on a lot of things. And I lost my job at a conservative network for that.
How did you know you lost your job? Like, what did that look like? So you go on The View, you say this, and then what happened?
Then they told me, don't come back on Monday to do your show. You're suspended indefinitely. That's how it was.
Were you shocked? Were you like, oh, this makes sense?
No, I was shocked. And that's why the lawsuit ensued. I have a view that some conservatives still to this day take a real issue with, and they tell me I'm not a real conservative or this or that. It's on both sides.
Meanwhile, The View found itself in a tricky spot. While Hostin's stance resonated with viewers who shared her views, it raised questions about the tone of the show. The View is known for its spirited debates, but this one blurred the line between political discourse and personal attack. It's one thing to challenge someone's ideas, but turning their family tree into a battleground, that's a whole other level. As the dust settled, the focus returned to the core issue, immigration policy. Laren made it clear that her stance isn't about rejecting immigrants, but about enforcing the rules. She argues that there's a significant difference between legal immigrants who follow the process and those who cross the border illegally, a nuance often lost in political debates. Her ability to articulate this point, even amid personal attacks, showcased her skills as a debater. For her part, Hostin stood by her decision to bring up Lauren's ancestry, framing it as a way to highlight the complexities of immigration. But by focusing so heavily on Lauren's family history, Hostin inadvertently gave Lauren the upper hand, turning the attack into a rallying cry for her supporters. This clash wasn't just about immigration. It was a microcosm of the cultural and political divides that define America today. On one side, those who see immigration as a cornerstone of the nation's identity, advocating for a compassionate and inclusive approach. On the other, those who prioritize strict enforcement and a merit-based system focused on self-reliance.
Provide them with DNA, 23andMe, because I cannot believe the detail on your background that they were able to get.
Well, I don't have to. She did all the research for me, so I'm sure my family is very appreciative.
What about Joy saying, though, what are your skills? It's beyond research. It is personal. It is mean.
Well, of course, this is classical Joy Behar, but I would like to ask Joy Behar what her skills are, because perhaps we could swap stories. I know I watched Joy, and she seems like a highly skilled lady, but for her to attack me, that's really interesting. Those in glass houses should not throw stones.
The irony? Both sides likely agree on more than they realize. Both Lauren and Hostin value the contributions immigrants have made to America. Both recognize the importance of assimilation and cultural integration. And in their own ways, both are fighting for what they believe is best for the country. But in the heat of the moment, those commonalities get lost amid the theatrics of live TV. In the end, this drama wasn't just a clash of policies, it was a reflection of how deeply personal politics have become. When debates shift from policy to people, the stakes feel higher and the arguments hit closer to home. Whether you're Team Lauren or Team Hostin, one thing is certain, this debate is far from over. And if nothing else, it proves that daytime TV can still deliver moments that get us talking. So, what do you think? Is it fair game to bring personal history into political debates, or did this go too far? One thing's for sure, genealogy has never been so controversial or entertaining. If you liked today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Try this salt trick before you sleep to get hard as steel. Thanks to the salt trick, he makes me gush like a broken fire hydrant. Last month, I was about to divorce my husband, but he showed me his new 8-inch pee. Now, I can barely hold it in my hand. This salt trick is without a doubt the most unfair advantage for any man aiming to hit 8 inches in 2025. I wasn't kidding when I said to take it easy with this trick. It can turn a pathetic spear into a raging anaconda. It's ridiculously simple, and it's a shame to see so many men missing the chance to make their women happy for once. So far, this simple homemade trick has helped over 28,000 people naturally increase in size and thickness. This is the same secret that the highest paid adult film actors use to maintain a well above average spear. That's also how they can handle 3, 4, or even 5 women in a row without losing their stamina. The best part is that it works for men of any age, only about half a minute a day before bed, and can bring you awesome news in no time. To skip the details and go straight to the video, just click the Watch Now button below to learn how to perform this simple yet potent trick tonight. You should watch it alone due to certain scenes if you catch my drift. Waste no more time. Watch it before it goes down or before you can't find this video.
Okay. All right, let's see.
Yeah, they're great. Super short striking and fatty. Right? Heads up.
Well, Happy New Year, everyone. On behalf of the House Republican Conference, it is my honor to kick off the first leadership stakeout of this year, and we're excited as Republicans. Democrats have made the bed that they lie in, and they need to own their decisions every single day. Just recently, President Biden has been pardoning sex offenders, decreasing domestic energy, and forgiving even more student loan debt.
No offense, but if you're paying more than $30 per month on car insurance, you're getting ripped off. Guys.
As he leaves his post, we need, as Republicans, to fight against this record of corruption and bad policies. Dems need to own this insanity. This is their mess, but we will clean it up. And fortunately, there is a better path forward. And it's a very stark contrast. But the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans is that our agenda is about opportunity, freedom, prosperity, and putting America first, while their agenda is about control, dependence, and America last. We have an opportunity for a massive political realignment, and we are excited about that. We have a unified Republican government that wants to put America first again. We also won on building diverse coalitions, and I'm committed to doubling down on these efforts as conference chairwoman. We ran on a political platform that is about being accountable to the people. The Democrats alienated the working class, while the Republicans proved we want to be the party of the bigger tent. We want more investments in America. We want energy independence again, not an increased reliance on foreign countries that hate us and hate what we stand for. We want to make our country safer. Today, the House is expected to vote on the Laken-Riley Act for people like Congressman Addison McDowell. The southern border is very personal, and he's going to speak. Unfortunately, he is perfectly equipped to talk about illegal immigration and why this matters in every community, not just the border states. And I'll turn it now over to Congressman Addison McDowell for some remarks. Thank you.
Good morning. Last week, when we were sworn in and I took my oath and became a member of the 119th Congress, my entire family was here with me. Everyone except for my little brother, Luke. Luke wasn't here because he was killed by fentanyl that was almost certainly manufactured in China and smuggled across our southern border. When I decided to run for Congress, I went and met with President Trump, and I told him, "Sir, I'm ready to get off the sidelines, and I'm ready to fight with your agenda to secure our border and protect our country. I'm ready to fight for families like mine who have had my mom and dad had to look a police officer in the eyes when he told them that their son was dead. Every day that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the Democrats in Congress refuse to act, more people will die. That is why that was the #1 issue for Americans across the country when we went to the ballot box. They looked at the president and the vice president and they said, "Y'all are fired." I'm looking forward to voting for the Laken-Riley Act today because for families like hers and like mine, this is a needed step. To those of you that are watching, I lost my little brother, and I'm in Congress so that you don't have to lose yours. I'm excited to get to work. President Trump, we need you here. January 20th cannot come fast enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Addison. Yesterday, President Donald J. Trump's historic victory was solidified, marking the dawn of a new golden age for America. The time is now to restore our strength, rebuild our prosperity, and reassert true leadership in our nation. With just 13 days until President Trump returns to the White House, our House majority is acting swiftly to advance important legislation that Joe Biden and the Democrats blatantly ignored, the Laken-Riley Act. With Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, and the party of lawlessness out of the way, the radical left's mission to enable criminal illegal aliens, yet people keep writing undocumented whatever, criminal illegal aliens at the expense of law-abiding Americans, it's no longer going to be tolerated. The tragic and preventable murder of Laken-Riley serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of failed leadership. But thankfully, voters sent a clear message on November 5th. The American people elected a Republican trifecta to put a stop to the failed Biden-Harris policies that rolled out the red carpet for illegal immigrants, criminal illegal immigrants, and put Americans in harm's way. And guess what? That's exactly what we're going to do. The Lake and Riley Act is a direct step toward ensuring that criminal illegal aliens are swiftly and permanently removed from our communities and our country. This bill is more than just a piece of legislation. It's a return to common sense American values. And under President Trump's leadership, there will be a lot more where that came from as we restore the rule of law and put Americans first again. And with that, I turn it over to our leader, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Whip. It was very exciting Friday to not only get sworn in, but to see all these new members of Congress as part of this new Republican majority, both House majority, Senate majority, with President Trump coming in just a couple of weeks. We have over 30 new Republicans that are a part of this majority, and their enthusiasm is contagious. They came to do big things, and we have big things planned, and I'll talk about a couple of those things, but we started by doing something that maybe some of you were a little disappointed in. We actually only took one ballot to elect Mike Johnson as our speaker, and I think that showed you just how focused this new majority is on doing our work. We have a lot to do. We did not have time last week to go multiple rounds and try to have a lot of internal fights. While we might have internal disagreements along the way, we are going to be focused on the people's business, and we have a lot of work to do to fix the mess, as Lisa pointed out, that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democrats have left behind. Just look what Joe Biden did a couple of days ago. Puts out another executive order to make it harder to produce American energy. Another kick to the gut of hardworking families. Those people in the middle class, he talks about the middle class, he talks about hardworking people. And yet he passes policy after policy to kick them in the gut and raise costs on them. Those actions on energy, anti-American energy policies, will raise costs even higher on those families who can't afford it. The good news for those families is help is on the way. We are starting the budget reconciliation process. We are already working with committee chairs. We've been doing this for months, but now we're doing it in a very direct way. We've worked with President Trump to make it clear that in February we're going to get our budget on the floor. The committees will be working by March to actually get the policies in place to not only secure the border, to get good energy policy in place, to reverse a lot of these radical regulations that are crushing families across America, but to just get Washington to have some common sense again, as President Trump has talked about, and then to move that through the House by April, by Easter. It's an ambitious agenda, but it's an agenda that all of us signed up for. We're starting today with the Lake and Riley Act, the bill we passed last Congress, but Chuck Schumer made it clear he was not going to allow through his far-left radical Senate. Well, now we have a new Senate, and John Thune wants to move that bill as early as this week. So that is good news to people like Addison, real people like Addison who have real stories, where Washington had left them behind and didn't care about their problems. The good news for them is there's a new light in Washington. There's a new sign of hope in Washington where we're going to be addressing the problems that families are facing. And we're going to do it quickly. This is going to move at rapid speed because the problems America faces cannot wait. So this Congress is open for business and it's ready to move fast. You're going to see that aggressive agenda led by our first ballot speaker, Mike Johnson.
Well, thank you all, and welcome to the 119th Congress. It has already gotten off to a swift start, and it has to. And I tell you what, there's a real feeling on Capitol Hill right now in the midst of the snow and all the winter drama, as well as across the country. It really does feel like a new day in America. It really does. And we're excited about it. The excitement is palpable. Our members are ready to get to work, and we already are. We have hit the ground running, as we promised everyone we would on that campaign trail, because we have to fix everything, and it begins today. On Friday, we passed our rules package, as you all know, and that included 12 policy measures that prove to the people that House Republicans are serious about this, delivering on our promises. You'll see instant measures right out of the gates here to secure the border, unleash American energy, protect American elections, and return to common sense, which will be a primary theme of the new year for all of us. On Saturday and Sunday, we took all the House Republicans for workshops and lengthy retreats. We spent all day, both of those days, meeting and having important discussions about our policy agenda and what will happen over the next several months. You all heard me say over the last year we were developing, using my football metaphors, we were developing a playbook. And we have very well-designed plays, and now we're working out the sequence of those plays, working with the new head coach in that metaphor, which is President Trump, and our colleagues and teammates in the Senate Republicans. And we're excited about how all of that is rolling out. We trudged through the snow yesterday to certify the election, and that went off without a hitch. 38 minutes to certify the new president. That might be a record, I'm not sure, but it went off well. And President Trump won the popular vote, and he won all 7 swing states, which we stood to applaud during that important procedure. The America First agenda will be on full display. That was the mandate we got in the election, with the president receiving 77 million popular votes, and the House Republicans receiving almost 75 million, which I think is a record. We won the popular vote as well. And we know that message has been heard here loud and clear. As promised, we're starting today with border security. If you polled the populace and the voters, they would tell you that was the top of the list. And we have a lot to do there to fix it. It's an absolute disaster because of what has happened over the last 4 years. And the Laken Riley Act is a big part of that. You know her story. It was last February, a 22-year-old student, reminds us, many of us, of our own children, out for a jog. A vicious killer tragically murders her. And that killer entered the country illegally with Joe Biden's open border and took the life of a beloved daughter and sister and friend. The only thing President Biden did after Laken's tragic death was apologize for calling her a murderer and illegal. That's outrageous. We all know the real victim here is young Laken. There are real consequences to policy decisions. It was reminiscent of what the tragic story that Addison shared about his little brother. And we all feel that acutely. This is a story that's repeated across the country to so many countless American families, and it must come to an end. And it will. We'll begin with legislation like the Laken Riley Act today. When we brought this bill forward last Congress, it's shocking, amazingly to me. 170 House Democrats voted against that legislation.
The ship is on fire.
We're going to detain and deport illegal aliens who commit burglary, theft, larceny, shoplifting, and certainly vicious and violent crimes. And I can't believe anybody would be opposed to that. But as Democrats struggle with their identity now as a party post-election, we'll find out if they're still clinging to that open border, that mantra, and despite the American people roundly rejecting all that. This will be a telling vote. Also this week, the House will vote to impose sanctions on ICC officials and put the ICC prosecutor Karim Khan back in his place. He does not have jurisdiction over Israel or the United States, and it is outrageous that they're issuing arrest warrants and Israel's defense minister Iran. The ICC is actually equating Israel and Hamas, even as Hamas still holds Israelis and American hostages. It is just absurd. The House will not tolerate drug actors who circumvent international law to attack Israel and threaten America. We won't do it. And this bill passed the House on a bipartisan basis last Congress. Again, with Leader Thune now in leadership of the Senate and Chuck Schumer out. I expect that will be brought to the Senate floor for a vote. Finally, later today, we'll have the chance to honor President Jimmy Carter, the late president, as he lies in state here in Special occasion. One of the rare opportunities that we have to honor a former president in this manner. And I hope you all join us to remember President Carter and mourn with his family and with the nation. With that, I'll take a few questions.
Mr. Speaker, you talk about the unity of the conference, but There is some dissension over how to handle the debt ceiling. That's been a priority for President Trump to deal with right away. How quickly do you want to address the debt ceiling, and in what fashion do you see a remedy here to that issue that the president wants to see done as soon as possible?
Well, the intention is to handle the debt limit in reconciliation in the process. And that way, as the Republican Party, the party in charge of both chambers, we then get to determine the details of that. If it runs through regular order and regular process and as a standalone or as part of the appropriations, for example, then you have to have both parties negotiating. And we feel like we're in better stead to do it ourselves. So there is a broad range of opinion on that in our own conference, and we are working through that. We'll be having very deliberate, lengthy whiteboard sessions with all of our members. This is something I actually look forward to. I love this process of turning it out amongst our colleagues, because people come to the table with great skill sets, life experiences, deep principled positions, and it's a really healthy thing to have that debate inside the tent and come to the solutions and the consensus together. And people feel like they have a sense of ownership in it when they do that. So that's what we'll be devoting a lot of my time, leadership team's time, our committee chair's time over the coming days and weeks to make sure that everybody is on the same page on that. So the debt limit, among all the issues, is probably one of the most important. I want to emphasize this, and I'm going to say this every time the issue comes up. Republicans and this majority in the House and the Senate, our intention and our mission is to reduce the size and scope of government, to reduce spending in a meaningful way so that we can restore fiscal sanity and get our country back on the right track. So raising the debt limit is a necessary step so that we don't give the appearance that we're going to default in some way on the nation's debt. That's important in the bond markets and the stability of the dollar and all the rest. But that does not mean that we have any intention whatsoever or will tolerate spending up to the new debt limit. The idea is to do exactly the opposite. So while that is almost a pro forma sort of step that must be taken, the commitment at the same time is to reduce spending, not to spend more. So that will be the thoughtful discussion we have behind the scenes. That number, the final formula for that, is yet to be determined, but it will be determined here in the coming days, and I look forward to having that discussion.
Look, Mr. Speaker, just as part of that, are you open at all to cuts to entitlement programs, specifically to Medicare?
No, look, the president has made very clear Social Security and Medicare have to be preserved, and we are not, no one is coming in with the intention of cutting benefits in any way or anything, but we have to look at all spending and look at it very deliberately while maintaining those commitments. The Republican Party is not going to cut benefits, okay? We've made that very clear over and over and over, and that's the commitment of the White House and the commitment of this Republican conference. We do know, however, at the same time, there are many, many areas of fraud, waste, and abuse. The government is too large. The agencies are too many. There are too many divisions and employees and all the rest, and there will be a very deliberate auditing of all of that in various aspects as we go through the process. The DOGE initiative, the project, is going on simultaneously, and we'll be dovetailing all that together. So our intention is to, by the end of this Congress, to show the American people we brought the government back down to a measurable state, so to speak, right? That it works more efficiently and effectively for the people. And the way you do that is to get back to the original intent, the primary roles of the federal government. And that's been expanded too much. The government has expanded too much over the last years. I'll take one more back row. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. When the Lincoln Riley Act was on the floor in the previous Congress, a lot of Democrats said they weren't voting for it because they supported the bipartisan bill that that President Trump opposed. What is your response to how or will you work with Democrats on something more comprehensive that could get bipartisan support?
Yeah, the Lincoln Riley Act was bipartisan. Leader Scalise is reminding me behind me, 37 Democrats did vote for that.
But you noted that 100 or someone...
170 voted against it. And I think they put politics ahead of principle. And we're going to find out where they stand on this now. Look, we have every intention of doing really important bipartisan work in the Congress. To be frank, I was heartened when Leader Jeffries, in his opening remarks before he introduced me to give my speaker's speech, that he noted some of this. He noted border and other things. We'll see. It can't be just empty rhetoric. It's got to be action, and we're going to give them the opportunity to take action with us. Look, we welcome with open arms any Democrat.
Autopilot mode enabled.
Because the American people demand and deserve it. It's overdue, and we'll be looking for that, and we'll see how it shakes out. Thank you all. Thank you. Happy New Year.
I guess. About another one about honor.
If you're unsure or unaware of your eyeglass prescription, or if your prescription changes frequently due to
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Trey Gowdy and it's Sunday night in America. Donald Trump did what few have ever done. He forced a sitting president to quit. He defeated a sitting vice president. He won the popular vote and the Electoral College. But that's a mandate. So how quickly can he get his cabinet in place to start acting on that mandate? Here's Senate Majority Leader John Thune with a history lesson for his Democrat colleagues.
In 2009, President Obama had 12 cabinet secretaries in place within 15 days of taking office. It took the Trump and Biden administrations roughly 3 times longer to get the same number confirmed. Mr. President, we need to get back to the Obama standard. And we're going to need Democrats to cooperate in order to do that. Earlier this week, the Democrat leader said that his caucus's approach to the Trump nominees would be, and I quote, fair but thorough. Mr. President, I hope it will be fair. And we'll be ready to proceed whether or not Democrats choose to cooperate.
New York is home to Alvin Bragg and apparently one other person who didn't get the message in November.
The American people have a right to know if President-elect Trump's cabinet nominees are going to fight for them. Americans have to ask, what are Republicans trying to hide when they don't want their nominees to have background checks and don't want to have full information about them? These nominees will have enormous power. Republicans choosing to rush nominees is quickly becoming a pattern. It's hard not to wonder, what are the Republicans trying to hide about these nominees from the American people? What are they trying to hide? What are they afraid of?
Hey, I'll let you in on a little secret. Chuck Schumer is not going to vote for Trump nominees regardless. So I don't think anyone cares what he thinks. But for Republican senators, what do they want to hear and know? Some nominees have changed positions on key issues. So how do you judge the sincerity of the conversion? How much information is enough? Does the standard ebb and flow with the nature of the office sought? Joining us is South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, who chairs the Senate Banking Committee, and he's also in charge of keeping the Senate majority in 2026. Welcome, Senator. Thank you for joining us. How much information is reasonable to ask for? Yes, sir. And when does it become mindless delay and stall tactics?
Problem solved, sir. Well, what you just heard from Chuck Schumer is one thing and one thing only. They're going to do everything they possibly can to delay making America great again by making sure every nominee that President Trump has chosen is actually fulfilling the responsibilities of the job. Listen, Trey, it is simple. We need Pam Bondi as the Attorney General so that we can stop the DOJ from weaponizing their power. We need Scott Bassett at the Treasury so we can stop this conversation around a global taxation and a minimum tax. We need to get back to making America great, and that means, yes, let's vet the noms, but let's get our jobs done, and let's get it done in record time. Bottom line is simply this: Donald Trump and the American people deserve to have the job done right and quickly.
All right, let's talk about background checks for a second. Whoever is assigned to do John Lee Ratcliffe's background check is going to be bored out of his or her mind. I really can't think of anything that guy's ever done wrong. Matt Gaetz, y'all missed a very interesting read. That would have been an NC-17 movie, but he quit for good reason. So what would be a disqualifying fact, or what are you looking for in a background check?
Well, Trey, let me just say, hopefully what we're looking for is John Ratcliffe in every nominee. I actually read through his background the first time around and I fell asleep. Literally, it is so boring because he's done nothing wrong. We should start with being, frankly, innocent and not guilty when it comes to these noms. We want people who can do the job, people who are qualified. The good news is President Trump has chosen incredible people to serve this great nation. And as we see John Ratcliffe running the CIA, America will be safer and the world will get back to an order that we can actually call honorable.
All right, what can the nominees themselves do to bolster their own causes? I mean, get information into you quicker, answer more questions, or it's just a game and it doesn't matter what they do, they're not gonna cooperate, Senate Democrats?
Here, it's the latter, Trey. Bottom line is simply this, that the ones who are not going to cooperate, there's nothing at all we can do to get them to a yes. The good news is the nominees are already making themselves available. They have been for the better part of 2 to 3 weeks. They want to be vetted. They want to be in front of Republicans and Democrats. The good news is, America, the day is coming. We're about a week away before the most transformative change starts materializing all across our country with 4 good years of Donald Trump.
All right, you are days into a new and important and time-consuming job. You got a brand new family. You're the chairman of a really important committee, and now you've also taken on chairman of the NRSC. How is that going? I mean, your job is to defend the Senate majority.
Goodbye blood pressure meds. I'm throwing them all away. Why? Because after hearing Dr. Livingood, I don't need them anymore.
I'm a doctor, and I quit.
Donald Trump needs that too. How's it going for 2026?
Well, Trey, so far so good. We have a lot of work to do. It's going to be the most expensive midterm election in the history of the country. But the Democrats, they found religion, Trey. Let me just tell you. Classic example is this past Friday, the Laken-Riley Act finally passed. When it was not an election year, the Democrats, they held it up. It didn't go through for one reason. They were playing politics, and now they're playing politics again. But we're going to remind the voters of the politics that they're playing as opposed to focusing on closing our border, taking care of Americans. And so this election cycle will be really important. We need every single person chipping in at the nrsc.org so that we can hold on to the majority and prayerfully even expand it, Trey.
As if you didn't have enough other stuff going on, you now have added this to you. You are the busiest man in the world. Senator Tim Scott from the great state of South Carolina, thank you for joining us. Happy New Year, too.
Happy New Year, buddy. God bless you.
Across the Capitol in the People's House, the debate is 1 versus 2, as in whether to deliver everything in a single reconciliation bill or take 2 swings at it.
I have said clearly the preference over here is one bill, and that is because I have a much larger group of members to work with and a much more diverse caucus, and people have different ideas on the various elements of this. That's why we have this position. It still remains, as you heard as recently as last night, President Trump's preference, and I think that ultimately is what's going to happen.
The Senate has different rules and actually a larger majority. The House is a little more fractious at times. Some senators want to move on immigration first and do taxes later, but can the House stay unified long enough to pass 2 bills? Plus, Panama has been in the news lately. Our next guest has an idea. South Dakota Congressman Dusty Johnson is active in reconciliation discussions and just introduced a bill authorizing negotiations with the government of Panama to reacquire the canal. Welcome to you, Mr. Congressman. First, let's deal with the House agenda. Which is better, 1 bill or 2, and why?
Well, listen, the quarterback of the football team, Donald Trump, has made the play call. He's saying he wants 1 bill, so we're going to go execute. I honestly, Trey, I barely care. I mean, a few weeks ago, I was probably a partisan on the 2-bill approach because I wanted to get a quick win on border, but it just doesn't matter that much provided we can seal the deal.
All right, Congressman, I have very keen eyes for an old man. I was watching C-SPAN during the House vote, and I saw you. So I'm going to play the role of a senator, even though I'm an ex-House member. If a senator were with us, he or she would point out it actually took you getting involved to marshal the troops long enough to re-elect Mike Johnson as Speaker, and 30-something House Republicans didn't follow Trump when he asked for the debt ceiling to be raised. So how can the House agree on a tax bill or an immigration bill with so many factions within the House?
Problem solved, sir. You are right. We are a fractured group. It gets a little rowdy over there in the House. We are going to get it done, though, because trade failure is just not an option. I mean, if we don't secure this southern border, people are going to throw us all out on our ears, and rightfully so. And failure would also mean that the American families get a $5 trillion tax increase. That dog is not going to hunt. We have got to get it done. And frankly, having President Donald Trump keep the pressure on us to make sure that we don't go wobbly on him is going to make sure we stick the landing.
Ship is on fire.
I know you're a humble guy. That's what your colleagues tell me. But I'm not sure we wouldn't have gone to a second round on the Speaker had I not seen you walk into what they used to call the smoking room. But, of course, smoking is not legal now that John Boehner is gone. All right, let's talk about a place where smoking may be legal, the Panama Canal. Why is the Panama Canal in the news now? I mean, Panama is a stable democracy in Central America. Why the talk now, but not during Trump's first term about reacquiring the canal?
We've sunk an enemy destroyer.
Because we have a deeper understanding of the role of the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, these guys are everywhere. They control the ports on either end of the Panama Canal, both on the Atlantic and the Pacific side. There are an increasing number of American officials that are getting concerned. And Trey, you probably know that 73% of the traffic through the Panama Canal is our traffic, either American imports or exports. It is a uniquely important asset to our trade relationships. And the biggest traffic through there, American energy, liquefied natural gas, and American ag products. Donald Trump wants to kill this trade deficit. If he's going to do it, it's going to be American ag products and American energy that will lead the way.
You are correct. When I was on the House Intelligence Committee, I actually took a trip to the Panama Canal for the reasons that you just laid out. And here's what I'm going to do, Congressman. I'm going to nominate you for the Nobel Peace Prize, because if you can keep that fractious House together long enough to pass 2 bills, you deserve it. And again, most people probably weren't watching what I was watching, but I saw you go into that room, and when they came out, those 2 guys changed their vote. So you keep being modest, and I'm going to keep telling people, if it weren't for Dusty Johnson, we might still be trying to elect a speaker. Thank you for joining us on Sunday night.
Thank you, Trey.
Coming up, TikTok hangs in the balance as a skeptical Supreme Court heard oral arguments on a potential ban. O'Leary Ventures chairman Kevin O'Leary is part of a new bid for the social media giant. He joins us on that and big changes for big tech. That's next. Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. I'm not sure how many Supreme Court justices are on TikTok, but worldwide billions of young people are. So lots of eyes were on the court with a looming ban. Is there a workaround that preserves national security and maintains the platform? Is there a way to satisfy concerns and still keep teenagers from starting World War III? And speaking of big tech, Facebook has done an about face. I wonder if it's because their preferred candidate did not win the election in November. No, I don't think that could be it, could it?
After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact-checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far.
And it took him how long to figure that out? Mark Zuckerberg donated $1 million to the Trump inauguration fund. I mean, that's pocket change to him. I doubt it's enough to make up for years of bias, but we shall find out. Let's ask one of the consummate deal makers in the world. They call him Mr. Wonderful, but he also answers to Kevin O'Leary. Welcome, sir. Why don't you buy TikTok? Move the servers to the United States, address the mental health concerns for young people, and that way everybody is happy and you're richer.
Well, that's about to happen if we get the right judgment from the justices at the Supreme Court, hoping to get that this week. They had the hearing on Friday. I listened to every word. And so what we're deciding now is to either uphold the order of Congress, bipartisan order to shut down TikTok. But I don't want it shut down. It's not good for my businesses. It's not good for 6 million other small businesses in America that make a living off it. We just need to take out the onerous piece, the spyware. And that's what Congress is upset about. And so our offer, my syndicate, along with Frank McCord, we've put together an offer that actually we don't want to buy the algorithm. That one of the issues the company claimed in their case to the Supreme Court was no one's going to buy it without the algorithm. That's not true. We'll buy it without the algorithm because we can't use it. That's spyware. So we're going to rebuild the product and make it much better, actually. And we're hoping that this really kind of a binary outcome. If the justices rule for upholding the law, it will go back to the executive. That's currently Biden. If he can see a valid purchase offer, which we've sent it to the company, all the shareholders and the Chinese government, they have it now. And he'll say, look, I think you guys should negotiate in good faith. We'll offer you, if you wish, to negotiate a 90-day stay of execution, so to speak. And then we'll be working for Donald Trump at 12:05 on January 20th. So this is a very complicated bipartisan deal. It's what we want to do to save the platform for Americans. I think it's the right thing to do. And the company should want that too. This is the only path I see forward. And so let's see what happens. It's going to be a very interesting week. And I spent a fair amount of time, as we have in our syndicate, speaking to both the Republicans and the Democrats on a bipartisan basis. Donald Trump, I just got back an hour ago from Mar-a-Lago, and I know my counterparts have been doing the same with Biden. We really want to keep this thing going.
Well, if there's anybody in the world that can do it, it is you. Speaking of President Trump, let's listen to him on Canada, and then I want to ask you a question on the other side.
We're spending hundreds of billions a year to take care of Canada. We lose in trade deficits. That's why I told Trudeau when he came down, I said, what would happen if we didn't do it? He said Canada would dissolve. We have more than they have. We don't need anything. So why are we losing $200 billion a year and more to protect Canada?
You just met with President Trump and a Canadian government official. I would never ask you to violate a confidential conversation, but is there anything you can tell us that came from that meeting?
Well, it's out in the public now. That was the Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith. She is one of the most pragmatic politicians on earth. Her relationship with Trump is unique. Alberta, that province in Canada, has more oil and gas than all of America, and is in fact one of the largest trading partners on earth with the United States. $188 billion worth of energy flows from Alberta into the U.S. to the refineries. It's shipped all over the world afterwards, and even some of it comes back up to Canada. As she likes to put it, and I think she was really getting ahead of the narrative, very smart of her, to say, look, we're in a long-term marriage with the people of the United States. We're not dating, we're married. Sometimes couples have some problems. They get into a little tiff, but because they've been married forever, they work it out. And she's so far ahead of other Canadian politicians because she came down to Mar-a-Lago last night. I was lucky enough to join her. As she worked the room, she met many of the cabinet members. They're glad to see her. They know her well. She is a conservative. She's part of the red wave that's flowing through Canada right now, the conservative wave that kicked out Idiot King, Justin Trudeau. And he's gone, so what he said doesn't matter, and Trump understands that. And all those liberal politicians that went to see him, gone. I think it's a good outcome that she did. She's smart.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you can manage to save TikTok and keep relations between the United States and Canada, you're going to be one of the most important people in the world. We're going to have to give you a new nickname. It's not Mr. Wonderful. It's going to have to be something else. In the meantime, I'm just going to say thank you for joining us on Sunday night, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Take care.
Yes, sir. Up next, wildfires continue to devastate California with little sign of abatement. Criticism is pouring in over state and local government's response. The latest next.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Marianne Rafferty. Fire crews in Los Angeles are scrambling to contain deadly wildfires as Santa Ana winds intensify. A fire warning remains in effect across the region until Wednesday. Winds could gust up to 50 miles per hour along the coast and as high as 70 miles per hour in the mountains. Officials warn these conditions could spark new fires and threaten the progress already made. The fires have left vast paths of destruction, destroying entire communities. At least 24 people have been killed. More than a dozen others are missing, and those numbers are expected to rise. With just 1 week left in office, President Biden is urging Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to reach a ceasefire and hostage deal with Hamas.
Unfortunately, our whole city is gone. It's like a war zone. It's just so difficult to explain and understand the devastation.
I lost my childhood. I can remember it, but I would never forget.
Thank you, babe.
They stand there watching my home burn? Who does that? I've been a great American citizen for years. I've been working, going to school, and I built everything on my own, and I lost it overnight.
Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. Devastating, deadly wildfires have destroyed large swaths of greater Los Angeles. The scenes are truly apocalyptic. The mayor was overseas. The governor was warned years ago this could happen after nearly 100 people were killed in another deadly fire. It all comes down to preparation, evacuation, water, and prioritizing people over left-wing political causes. Early estimates say this could be the costliest blaze in U.S. history, with losses pegged at almost $150 billion. Insurance companies are fleeing California. The fires are still burning, so of course saving people and saving homes and saving animals is paramount. But the bodies aren't even buried after mass shootings before the left makes political arguments about gun control. Somehow it's different when the issue is fire control. Now they say, wait, don't mix politics with tragedy. But what if politics is what led to part of the tragedy? For the latest on the catastrophe sweeping California, Fox News contributor Ben Domenech joins us. Welcome. Ben, of course the priority is people and property and animals, but at some point we have to ask how this happened yet again in California, don't we?
Absolutely, Trey. And the truth is that, of course, there's been so many signals that something like this was possible. It's unfortunate. And I think that one thing that we should be clear about here, and I'm glad that you are clear about it, is that it's not politicizing an event to ask questions about the policy decisions that were made that led to it. I don't care if the governor of California or the mayor of Los Angeles is a Republican or a Democrat. If they make decisions that clearly lead to or increase the likelihood of an event like this, then it's incumbent upon all of us to ask questions. And I think that, regardless of whether Karen Bass was overseas or back home in LA, regardless of whether Gavin Newsom was paying too much attention to Donald Trump and not enough attention to California itself, the truth is they made policy decisions that ultimately led to this being a far more likely event to occur. And going back several years, you don't have to just rely on us or on critics of Gavin Newsom to bring this up. National Public Radio did an extensive report that looked at the fact that Gavin Newsom had cut funding for a number of different wildlife and wildfire management steps that ought to have been taken to the tune of more than $100 million, and that he was exaggerating the number of acres that had been addressed. That's something that is incumbent upon a governor to take control of, and instead what we see from him at this moment is political spin, not real answers. It's the opposite of what leadership looks like in this moment, and I hope that there are lessons for California voters about the kind of changes in leadership that they ought to make.
Ben, if memory serves, Gavin Newsom was the lieutenant governor during the Paradise Fire, which killed nearly 100 people. Donald Trump and Kevin McCarthy toured the area with him and gave him suggestions. And he rejected those suggestions because they ran afoul of his liberal agenda. To your point, let's together listen to two witnesses. One invoked the Fifth, and the other blames Donald Trump for his own mistakes. Then I'll get you to react on the other side.
Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position?
We're here not just in the immediacy of the crisis, but we're here after the crisis, as opposed to creating a crisis in the middle of this by trying to divide people and play political, take cheap political shots. The reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California, that mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults.
I'll get you to react to Gavin Newsom. I mean, Karen Bass said nothing, so there's nothing to react to.
Well, are you considering your position is a really good line from a British journalist. I have to deploy it myself. It's a good position to take when you're asking questions. But Gavin Newsom's response there, Trey, when a politician says we're not going to listen to the people who are just interested in dividing people, that's not a sign that they're winning. That's not a sign that they actually have the argument on their side. Instead, what is he doing? He's going to the pod bros from the Obama era to spin his response. He's basically putting it on local officials for giving him bad information and the like. Look, we all knew this was something that was possible. After the 2021 fires that affected a smaller area, but covering some of the same geography, we knew that there needed to be underbrush clearing, there needed to be wildfire abatement, there needed to be all sorts of responses. And yet, what have we learned about this whole process? We learned that there was, an entire reservoir that was offline during this period, which we know historically is the period when you need water, when you need that kind of access to the kind of things that could have prevented the destruction in so many ways that has affected so many lives. Look, my heart goes out to everyone in California. It's not politicizing this event to say that changes have to occur if that state and Los Angeles itself is going to be able to make a comeback and rebuild within our lifetimes, Trey.
Ben, I got to have you back because we didn't even get to the whole insurance crisis. Insurers are fleeing California, and you've got beautiful states. Yeah, so I got to have you back because we got to address that. But for now, thank you for joining us on a Sunday night. Always great to see you, and we'll have you back real soon on that other important issue.
Great to be with you, Trey.
Coming up, just a week from taking office, Donald Trump's second-term foreign policy is taking shape. One of his former intelligence officials joins us next.
But covering some of the same geography, we knew that there needed to be underbrush clearing, there needed to be wildfire abatement, there needed to be all sorts of responses. And yet, what have we learned about this whole process? We learned that there was, an entire reservoir that was offline during this period, which we know historically is the period when you need water, when you need that kind of access to the kind of things that could have prevented the destruction in so many ways that has affected so many lives. Look, my heart goes out to everyone in California. It's not politicizing this event to say that changes have to occur if that state and Los Angeles itself is going to be able to make a comeback and rebuild within our lifetimes, Trey.
Don't call it a comeback.
Ben, I got to have you back because we didn't even get to the whole insurance crisis. Insurers are fleeing California, and you've got beautiful states. Yeah, so I got to have you back because we got to address that. But for now, thank you for joining us on a Sunday night. Always great to see you, and we'll have you back real soon on that other important issue.
Great to be with you, Trey.
Coming up, just a week from taking office, Donald Trump's second-term foreign policy is taking shape. One of his former intelligence officials joins us next.
Go between your butt cheeks, down between your schnitzel sack, and just sniff the suds. And you go, okay, that's what she's talking about.
Okay.
What happens is the pH is so high, it actually accelerates the odor reaction. When you raise the pH.
Well, Mr. President.
For a second time. Barack, very nice to see you.
Congratulations. How you doing?
A lot better, Dan.
Yeah, I bet. Knew you'd win.
Oh, really? Oh, come on. Anyone could beat her.
Kidding
She's
me?
just...
I was just as appalled. You know what happened? He just didn't want to leave.
I know.
Is what happened. I did what I could to help her. She was horrendous.
I know. You know what I realized? Hillary still hates me. So much. I know. She'll never forget me. We should meet to discuss
I
this.
think so too. We can definitely set something up. Let me know what.
How crazy it is that they spent $24 billion last year on the homeless.
Yeah.
And what do they spend on preventing these wildfires?
Zero.
Zip. And then he gets on TV and pretends like everything's great.
Mm-hmm.
And California's the best. We have the best state. We have the most amazing economy. And like, you're out of your mind, dude. You've ruined this state.
And in 2019, I think Newsom said, I'm going to take care of the forests and maintain the forests and do all that kind of stuff. He didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything. And then on top of that, they cut the water off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all funny. And then I think all our tax dollars probably went for Gavin's hair gel. I don't know, but it's like, it's sad.
Mel Gibson and Joe Rogan talking about the states. I think Mel Gibson left. Oh, actually, all his stuff burned. So now he's going to make a decision whether he wants to get out of there. It's devastating. Over 10,000 structures, so many homes, lives, neighborhoods just gone.
Autopilot mode
and
enabled.
You say to yourself, well, there's some things called natural disasters. You got Sandy, nobody's fault, but were you ready? Then you have hurricanes hit North Carolina in the mountains, unprecedented. It's no one's fault, but are you ready? I don't think that governor did a great job, especially compared to the governor of Florida, Governor DeSantis. Does anybody think that Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass were ready? We find out about these huge water tanks. They say the first water tank was out in a few hours. The second one out by the end of the day. The third one was out by the next day. And by Thursday, there was no water in Pacific Palisades for firefighters to even open up the hydrants, so they stopped. Please don't tell me that you had a plan.
Awaiting instructions.
Joining us now, Tyrus, Fox Nation host, author of Nuff Said, daily panelist, and sometimes host of Gutfeld, host of Maintaining Tyrus on Outkick. And also he's got some events coming up too. He's a stand-up comic. Tyrus, welcome back.
Always a pleasure, B.
So Tyrus, we wanted to open up with Rogan and Mel Gibson, just talking about the incompetence on the West Coast. Outside Katrina, do you ever remember more anonymous feeling, more of an anonymous, unanimous feeling that these executives are over their heads and unprepared?
Well, I think New Orleans echoed that as well, unfortunately. I grew up in California. I moved to California from Boston when I was, I think, 8. And from the day I can remember, every year there was fire rules and wind rules. You wouldn't make a fire. You wouldn't go camping during the windy season because you can't make a fire. There was never fireworks. You had drills. If you saw somebody lighting matches, you were supposed to report them. So it's not like this isn't something that Californians grow up with and understand. And it's not like that we haven't had issues in California with fires over the past decade. What's shocking is the level of incompetence and arrogance from these officials, that they spend so much time on
autopilot mode disabled.
DEI stuff and diversity stuff and dumping millions and millions of dollars into the homeless situation. Adam Carolla made a great point. There's hundreds of thousands of Californians that are literally homeless now, and yet they're not sleeping under freeways and in tents. They're part of the community. They have family, friends, and they're able to find places to go. They're able to evacuate places to go. So there's a complete disconnect. You're dumping money on a group that doesn't necessarily want to be helped in that way, because they're either a drug addict, a criminal or suffering severe mental health issues. So you're just throwing money away. It's virtue signaling, and the money's going. And I would love for a forensic accountant to look to see where that money's really going. You know, you had the same thing in New York with the previous mayor. I can't remember the call. He's the guy no one liked.
De Blasio.
Yeah, where his wife was in charge of
$1 billion on the Thrive Foundation, and nobody benefited. We don't know where the money is, and nobody's asking.
Exactly. And that's the problem. But also the other side of it, California, this is what you get when you vote for the picture on the box. You know, this is what happens when your mayor had 17 hours on a plane to think of a way to comfort her constituents. She was silent, stared in the face because she couldn't think of who to blame. And that's what it is. They all passed the buck. And Newsom, I think the most telling video was the lady who ran him down as he was trying to get away from her. Tried to get in his car. His hand was on the doorknob when she turned the corner, and then he tried to tell her that he was on the phone with the president, and then she said, put him on speaker. And he lied right to her face.
Yeah, he goes, well, I can't get through.
I can't get a signal, so I have to go. He was looking for a place to do a interview where it would look like he was on the ground. He was boots on the ground, and I think that's what Californians have to figure out. You need to stop electing people based on the boxes they check, and hit the resume. Hit someone that has at least get in the game when it comes to wildfires in California and natural disasters. I remember the San Francisco earthquake when I was growing up was a big deal, but it was unified. Now I remember there was that great picture. It was Will Clark helping one of the children get out of the stadium, but there was a plan in place, and there was, and it wasn't days after where you had, the government officials coming out and talking in past tense. Their press conference, I don't know what was worse with that. The silent stare or the completely unintelligent press conference where she was talking like the fire hadn't got here yet.
So here it is. Listen to this. Cut 12.
We cannot see a single fire engine. We watched as Good Samaritans guided traffic. There was fear and there was a lot of confusion. You were out of the country at the time. What explains this lack of preparation and rapid response?
Let me just say, first and foremost, my number one focus, and I think the focus of all of us here with one voice, is that we have to protect lives, we have to save lives, and we have to save homes. Rest assured that when let me finish. Rest assured, when that is done, when we are safe, when lives have been saved.
Enough. We'll go back and do a forensics on what went wrong. I don't believe for a second that those water tanks were full, number one. And number two is the president said that the electric went off and the pump stopped. That's why the hydrants didn't get anything. Did you tell the governor that, genius? Because he's never said a word about that. Where'd you get that from?
The part that I loved the best was that she was reading her prepared statement, not the question. And the reporter did a great job, and I'm glad to see, maybe because the journalist was affected, that they're asking follow-up questions of the left again. And he hit her with, it's too late, it already happened. And she's like, let me finish. And she had to be aggressive, and because he was being misogynistic, I guess, by questioning her. I guess no one told her that she was the friggin' mayor. And she kept going with her statement, and that's perfect. Cut it off. They're unprepared, and this is a growing trend again. New Orleans, the nightmare, and then you get the politician is in there, and they say, well, we had a plan, but the terrorists beat our plan. So I guess, and then I guess now the mayor's going to say, we had a plan, but the fire beat our plan. So, they have an excuse for everything, and the best part is when you catch them unprepared, you see exactly what you voted for. There was no fire, and I mean, and I hate to use the word, there was no fire in her, like, we're going to fix this, and I've been on the plane for what were you doing on the plane for 17 hours that you couldn't come up with a way to say you were sorry? I mean, the only thing we didn't get was their patented thoughts and prayers.
So, which, by the way, I can't even hear again. But I'm going to say this. Karen Bass declared a state of emergency, then went on a 17-hour plane ride to a country that only could benefit her, because nobody in Los Angeles wants her to go represent L.A. in Ghana during an inaugural. No. And one of the reasons she wasn't the vice presidential nominee over Kamala Harris, because she had this little communist problem. She seems to like Castro, seemed to love Chavez, and they go, well, that's going to be a tough shot to get out of. We'll probably have to pick Kamala Harris. This woman is a mess. You know, sometimes, Tyrus, there are things you could try really hard at. You just don't have the proclivity. You don't want me working on your house. You definitely don't want me changing your oil. And I'll try, but I'll do a bad job. She should not be a politician. Neither should Harris. Whatever you think about Elizabeth Warren, she's a politician. She can speak. Whatever you think about AOC, she knows what she's doing. You might not agree with her, but they're doing the right thing in their life. She should not. She wants to be the Queen of England. She wants the respect, title, and power. She doesn't want to do the job.
It was given to her based on, again, the boxes. And you hate to say, but here's the thing. Even if I knew that you were working on my house, but your effort was there. Like, listen, I don't know a straight angle from a circle, but I'm here and I'm going to get somebody that can do this. I'm going to find, I'll search, I'll have my people find. There's an effort there. But again, as mayor of California, your two biggest issues is fire and crime. And they have failed miserably at that. And one of the biggest problems during these fires that are still, I think, last time I checked, I think they were at 6% contained.
Depends on, there's like 6 different ones. Some are doing, there's some that are doing better than others.
Yeah, but it's the looters. It's the criminal element that is now scourging, looking for these houses that are left and banks that are, and again, because they're emboldened. They could go into Beverly Hills with a hammer and go on a shopping spree, and no one could do anything. And now they're, and then here's the problem is that these homeowners are now wanting to risk their own well-being to go protect what's left of their home from other Californians. Like, this is the state of anarchy that the state that I love, that I grew up in, and California was a place, it was one of the coolest places in the world. You know why? Because you could literally go to the beach on Saturday, go to the mountains on Sunday, Monday hit the desert, and then go down and be in the city. It had everything for everyone, and they have turned it into, it is just, it's a cesspool. Venice, the place where I got my big break and where I trained to lift weights and it was one of the places where I got my big break in entertainment and stuff. I can't bring my kids there to show them the wall with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno and all, the great and the actors and the history, because I got to walk through Homeless Row to get there, and I'm not subjecting my kids to that. Bus stops are hotels, and you see the drug addicts everywhere. It's horrible.
Right.
So when you've let this place, at one point, Dr. Drew was concerned about bubonic plague in California. So, I mean, this is what these guys have done, but there's never eyes on it. New Orleans, even worse. No one ever questioned the mayor is corrupt. The lady has a career of an ineptness, but they always seem to find each other, and now we've had horrible things happen, and their best answer is, well, President Trump's making it political. Yeah,
Right.
you're damn right it's political.
Well, you know
But
what they
it's
say.
your job.
You know what they say about addicts. You got to hit rock bottom. You have no other options. Then you got to make choices.
Yeah.
This could be the rock bottom where people turn around and say, as Justine Bateman said last night to Jesse, he goes, "We got to stop looking at an R&D next to their name and look at competence." And I look at this guy Rick Caruso. I can't do his unauthorized biography, but do you know he was president of Water and Gas, as well as being a self-made multimillionaire? Don't you want that guy? Do you know that he hired his own firefighters, whatever you think of that, just in case to take care of Pacific Palisades, whatever his community is that he bought and now rents, and what they made is his own condo center? Do you know not one of those buildings burned? Because they said, listen, you don't want me as mayor, that's fine. But if I'm going to go back to my business, I'm going to make sure my people survive any calamity. So he had his private firefighters. He said the whole water system is antiquated and is underfinanced, and he knew it. Hey, people of Los Angeles, you had your choice. They're both Democrats. You could have had the business executive, or instead you have the failed congresswoman, and you got her. go at it. And now you got the results. Hopefully people make some decisions on competence. I appreciate you joining me. When are we going to see you again, Tyrus?
I think I'm back in the airways, I think Tuesday. And tonight I got a stand-up show in Connecticut.
Is it sold out? Where is it?
Yeah, it's sold out.
5 minutes ago, she'd never played piano. Can you believe she's been playing 1 week?
And it's just amazing how much ineptness we're witnessing and how lack of preparation is making everything so much worse. I don't have to explain it to Adam Carolla. He is living it. He chose to live out there, born out there. And we're a successful podcast. The Adam Carolla radio show is. He's a comedian who's got a great special out, but we'll talk about that in a moment. First off, Adam, do you still have a house?
I'm not sure. I was evacuated from Malibu, where I live, on Tuesday night, early evening, about 6 o'clock. There was mandatory evacuation. I took off and went to my studio, and which is in another part of town, and it just kept watching the news, kept talking to neighbors, kept talking to friends, and got some drips and drabs of information. I do know that most of the structures around my condo have burned down, including everything in front of me on CCH, all along the water. I mean, we're really talking about houses on the low end that are $12, $14 million, and on the high end, they're $70 million, and they're all gone. All of them. All done. So everything around me is gone, but I have heard that a few structures, including my condo, may still be intact.
Ship is on fire.
Miraculously, you can't go there and confirm it because they won't let you in.
I mean, it's amazing what's going on, and it's amazing how out of all the things you could think could go wrong, I never thought running out of water was something that was going to happen. But it seems to have happened. Rick Caruso, who was running for mayor, self-made multi-billionaire, I think, he said this, cut 23.
You have mismanagement of resources, and you don't have the right leadership making the right decisions. They clearly were not prepared for the kind of fire that was going to be coming. But in Los Angeles, we got warnings days ahead of time. Catastrophic winds. You have the Santa Monica Mountains that have not had any vegetation removed in decades. So you had an enormous amount of fuel. That combination alone should have warned everybody in the city that we've got to be over-prepared for this. And they weren't. So the reservoirs that feed the hydrants, from what I have been told, ran out very quickly. And the city was not replenishing the reservoirs for these gravity flow hydrants. It's a nightmare. But it all comes down to the right leadership, making the right decisions, and having the right systems in place. It's frankly not that complicated.
Your thoughts, Adam?
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't do any of that in California. We're fixated on having the first, lesbian or the first black or the first gay lesbian black who's running the fire department or in the city council. I mean, we're all, here's what we do. It's like every city who announces their sanctuary city. They announce their sanctuary city, and then what? Nothing. And then somebody gets dropped off, and they go, what do we do with these people? We don't have the resources for this. It's the exact same mindset. We just talk about this stuff like everyone deserves a seat at the table and that no child should go to bed hungry, and then we do nothing. It's all just talk. That's how we do it in Los Angeles. And then when something happens, we don't know what to do. And then at some point we'll announce it's unacceptable after it's done. We just go, it's unacceptable. And that's how we roll, because we're incompetent, but we basically run on good vibes, and good vibes are great until the S goes down, and then we got nothing.
So Adam Carolla, our guest. Adam, this was you talking about this problem in 2022 on another network.
I want to talk about my white privilege so badly.
I could not find a job. I walked to a fire station in North Hollywood. I was 19. I was living in the garage of my family home. My mom was on welfare and food stamps, and I said, can I get a job as a fireman? And they said, no, because you're not black, Hispanic, or a woman. We'll see you in about 7 years.
So that was you in 2017, my bad, testifying. So you called this, and that's what this fire chief was bragging about. This fire chief was saying, hey, I'm a lesbian and I hired a lot of diversity. You're going to love my diverse firefighters.
I know. It's like, well, when are you going to be diverse enough? And they're like, never. But in that clip continues, and the part of it that comes in about 25 seconds is, I took the test to be an LA County fireman. I went and took the written test because I signed up for it, and 7 years later they notified me that my test date had come up. And I just went and took it, even though I was a carpenter by then. I went and took it just because I was like, well, I signed up for this test 7 years ago, which, by the way, when you're 19 is a long time between, 19 and 26, right? That's a lifetime. So I went and took it on a Saturday at Hollywood High. And I was standing in line, and I couldn't believe that I signed up to take a written test to be a firefighter, and 7 years later, they notified me. So I kept asking everyone around me, when did you sign up? I turned to a woman behind me. She was a woman of color who was 5'0" and about 105 pounds. And I looked at her and I said, when did you sign up to take this test? And she said, Wednesday.
So, who would you want coming to save you? Adam Carolla with his strapping 26-year-old boxer carpenter, or a 5-foot person who on a whim probably decided I'll sign my name here?
She looked like Paula Abdul's younger sister, and she didn't look like she could rescue a box of Legos out of a burning house, much less, someone full-grown human.
So, having said all that, these people, Adam Sandler, we're hearing about Billy Crystal, we know about Jennifer Aniston lives up there. It's hard to imagine anybody house surviving. And if yours is, it's lucky you're going to have nothing around you, no infrastructure. Adam, this must be really tough on you, especially because you've grown up there, you've been there forever, you know everybody. And almost all of them are literally in the line of fire. Now the Hollywood Hills are burning.
I have a dear friend, a very good friend who I spoke to yesterday, who I know has a house down on PCH, down on the ocean, and he has another home up the hill. And he loves them, and he spends time there, and he was trying to convince me to get another place up the hill. I talked to him yesterday. I said, how's it going? He said, we lost both houses. Wow. So there's nothing there anymore. And yes, if my home makes it, I don't know what I'm returning to rubble, essentially. I'm just going to watch bulldozers for the next 2 years just push people's stuff up and down PCH. There's literally nothing in front of me. I used to look out my front window and see multi-million-dollar homes with the ocean beyond. There's nothing. They're not there anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing too. I hear it's very hard to get a hotel room, very hard to find a place to go. Are you realizing that now? Are you talking to people that are scrambling?
I'm glad you brought that up. I have a show tonight in Vegas, so I just left for Vegas, a day or two early. But I do want to make this point. I'm glad you brought it up, which is these fires are started by homeless people, oftentimes, and/or fallen power lines, because we have a decrepit infrastructure for power. And that's another problem that we've never addressed. We're supposed to bury the power lines in the ground, but we don't do it. And so we don't have water, we don't have power. Homelessness. All of these people in Malibu, all these people in Santa Monica, all the people in the Palisades, all these people now, Pasadena. I mean, there's people who are literally homeless because their homes were burnt to the ground. None of them are sleeping in a cardboard box under an overpass tonight because they're homeless, but they're not junkies and they're not mental patients. Those comprise the homeless in Los Angeles. We say, oh, the unhoused community. They're not unhoused. They're drug addicts who have mental problems. I am homeless. Everyone in Malibu is homeless. No one's sleeping on the street because we have a support system. We're responsible. I had Dr. Drew reach out to me. I had Jimmy Kimmel reach out to me. I've had a ton of people reach out to me and go, would you like to stay at my home? Because I'm not a schizophrenic drug addict who's ripped them off, who's sleeping in the street. So this whole thing of like homeless, everyone in Malibu is homeless. Nobody slept outdoors one day.
Right.
Does anyone really think about what that means?
And for the record, it's not because you were born into money. It's not because people were born into money. It's whether you're looking to put up with have the infrastructure available in your life. And James Woods talked about it last night. Neighbors. Doesn't matter how famous or not famous you are. Neighbors helping out. The guy with Alzheimer's, 96 years old, who doesn't know his house is burning. A neighbor pulled him out. I don't know if they were famous or not. So people helping people is helping. And I think I told you this. In 92, I lived in Malibu, Los Flores Canyon Drive, when the Sea Lion was there, and all my stuff burned. But I was a single guy just renting a small room in a beautiful place. And I remember the chaos that surrounded it, but I also remembered Gold's Gym said free membership for 3 months. Gap said you can go get 2 pairs of jeans for every 3, and I had no money. And I remember the Oakwood Apartments said you could stay here for a few weeks, and they was fully furnished. There was a sense of community in Los Angeles, which is made up of very driven mercenaries in many respects, looking to make their way through a very tough industry. And I'm seeing that again.
Yeah, no, people step up. People do the right thing. People are generally decent, and I like I said, as soon as everyone found out about the fire, all I had was people reach out to me asking if I needed a place to stay.
That's awesome.
And that's how people are. But if you're schizophrenic and a drug addict, then no, we can't have you in our home around our kids and our jewelry.
And the other thing is over billions of dollars every year for the homeless budget, and $819 million for the whole firefighter budget, to create 65% of the homeless budget, and it was cut back $17 million last year by this genius mayor who wanted to do $23 million, and suddenly someone got into it and said just 17 will be enough. Adam, on a much lighter note, you're an important part of Fox Nation's first ever night of comedy. I was there. It's awesome. You were great. Fox Nation's first ever. It's you, Jim Brewer, Anthony Rodia, as well as Jimmy Fallon, who's genius. He was the MC there. So check it out. Beginning today, on the 9th. Today's the 9th, right? So today you can get it on Fox Nation, the world's favorite app. Adam, I know it's not the perfect time, but it is out there for people that want a break.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, you turn on the news, and if it's not something going down in Ukraine, it's something going down in Israel. It's not that. Of all places, it's going down in Malibu, California. You can expect to hear news about Ukraine and news about Gaza and get depressed, but Malibu? So if it's depressing every time you turn on the TV set now, maybe go over to Fox Nation and have a laugh.
Absolutely. And by the way, that's at my college. Long Island University is where you did it. And I know in some level it was an homage to me. I'm going to sell myself on that.
It was.
All right. Adam, thanks so much. Hang in there and let us know what happens with your condo. Adam Carolla, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that
I want to know, have you made this mistake with your holster? And by mistake, I mean, did you get a holster that's uncomfortable so you don't carry all the time? You may have. And even if you hadn't, you probably want a holster that's more comfortable. Enter the...
Mr. Speaker, as we speak, the California legislature has gavelled in to a special emergency session of its legislature. And you might say, well, of course they have. LA is burning to the ground right now. But it turns out that's not actually what this special session is about. No. The legislature has gavelled into a special session called by Gavin Newsom to provide millions of dollars in funding for filing lawsuits against the incoming Trump administration. That is what their priority is at this very moment.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
Mr. Speaker, there could not be a starker illustration of the abject political failure that has gotten our state to this point.
Ship is on fire.
And that has served to bring about the horrifying scenes that the whole country is seeing on their television sets right now, and that folks in Los Angeles are suffering through. So I want to go over a few of the failures that have gotten us to this point. But I do want to say first that my prayers are with the people in LA, the victims of this horrifying, apocalyptic set of fires, with the over 100,000 people under evacuation orders, with the at least 5, sadly probably more people who have lost their lives and their families. And with our firefighters and first responders who are working around the clock, doing everything they possibly can to get this blaze under control. And I'm truly grateful for all of the communities in California and across the entire country who have come together to try to help the LA area in this hour of dire need. Thank you. It is appreciated beyond measure. But after we do manage to get the fire under control,
The ship is on fire.
there are going to be a lot of questions that need answering. Indeed, we can already identify, even though we don't know the specific cause of each fire, the failures that we know have contributed to these conflagrations, these catastrophic events that have hit our community time and time again. Our politicians have obsessed over things like banning lawnmowers, banning leaf blowers, all the while neglecting our forests and leaving our communities vulnerable. In fact, when it comes to the forest, it is worse than neglect. The state and, frankly, the federal government have put up unnecessary hurdles to doing proper forest management, to clearing vegetation,
Ship is on fire.
to doing prescribed burns, which has turned many of our forests and areas adjoining residential areas in many cases as tinderboxes and caused fires that have in many cases become truly catastrophic community destroying events. And we've seen it happen, sadly, time and time again. The perversity of it all is that these restrictions on being able to manage our forests, which have decimated the timber industry, by the way, are imposed in the name of the environment. But nothing could be worse for the environment than a catastrophic wildfire. Indeed, when you look at all of the emissions that are saved by every single emissions reduction program that California has, all of that gets wiped out many times over when you have a catastrophic wildfire. So there simply could not be a more backwards policy. And in fact, last year in the fall, a decision was made to halt prescribed burns. Now, we don't yet know if that would have made a difference here, but we do know that the lack of doing prescribed burns in a systematic way, in an efficient way, in a timely way, has contributed to this problem. To make matters worse, Governor Newsom when he came into office, started claiming that he was doing forest management, but he wasn't telling the truth. An investigation by Capital Public Radio, the local NPR affiliate, found that Newsom had exaggerated the amount of forest management work that had been done, the number of acres treated. He'd exaggerated that number by a staggering 690%.
Paying your bills on time raises your credit score, right? Wrong. In fact, this is the first of 3 major credit score lies you're being told by the big credit companies. Fall for any of these 3 lies, and it doesn't matter what you do. Getting to 720 and above will be a long, hard struggle, if you ever get there at all. In fact, if you're one of the 153 million Americans with a credit score below 720, it's probably because you've unknowingly fallen for one or more of these 3.
So our political leaders in California have allowed millions of acres to become overgrown and have thereby left our communities in a vulnerable condition. Not only that, their mismanagement of our water supply has, among other things, diminished our capacity to respond to wildfires. First of all, it has been decades since California has built significant new water storage, not since the State Water Project. And secondly, even the water that we do have, when it comes down, much of it gets diverted intentionally into the ocean, again, supposedly for environmental reasons. I can tell you that in 2023, when we had record storms in California, I visited the site of the Folsom Dam. And you had water cascading out of the dam, 10,000 cubic feet per second, almost all of it going eventually into the ocean. And at that time, by the way, we had a flood emergency declared, of course, and yet somehow we were also still under a drought emergency. Californians were told you're not allowed to water your lawn. The legislature was passing draconian restrictions on indoor water use to 25, 30 gallons a day. Businesses were banned from having lawns in front of their property. In some parts of the state, you had to have a low flow device for your shower head. And then they would punish you if you used too much water when you took a shower, if you didn't take a 5-minute shower. And all the while, we're sending staggering amounts of water into the ocean. And we're failing to build the storage that would actually catch the water and preserve it for when we need it. As yet another example, relevant to the situation in LA, the California Coastal Commission actually rejected the building of a desalination plant just a couple of years ago. So California, over the course of many years, has in a political way chosen to allow its forests to become overgrown and to impose artificial scarcity on its water supply. At the same time, our state and many of our municipalities, such as Los Angeles, have had completely backwards priorities and have demonstrated a total failure of just basic competence when it comes to government performance and the provision of services. And that was highlighted very clearly in this case, when you had the Los Angeles Fire Department telling the city, do not deprive us of our funding. And yet the city decided to do it anyway. The fire department said that the reduction in funding would severely limit the department's capacity to prepare for, train for, and respond to large-scale emergencies. Now, as the city council, the mayor, were deciding not to fully fund the fire department, they had plenty of time for things like passing a resolution reaffirming Los Angeles as a sanctuary city. It was already a sanctuary city. It's already a sanctuary state. But they decided that was their priority, not to prepare for the risk of wildfire, not to fully fund the fire department, but to pass another resolution making itself a sanctuary city yet again. And we'll be learning more, I expect, about how it possibly could be that we have fire hydrants that are not working that water isn't coming out of them, and how we didn't have the necessary personnel on hand despite the high wind conditions. It all serves to underline, on the one hand, the misguided priorities, and on the other, the lack of basic competence.
Hey, listen, if you get your car insurance directly from
Autopilot mode enabled.
cool website.
So it's an honor to have the press, and these are people that aren't timid, they're not afraid of the press. If you'd like to ask a couple of questions, you may. We had a very beautiful day celebrating a very nice man, a good man, great humanitarian, Jimmy Carter, funeral. And thought it was a beautiful service, and it went very well. And we had some very good victories today, as you probably heard. Go ahead, any questions?
President Trump, just a few minutes ago, the Supreme Court ruled that they are not going to slow down the sentencing. It's on for tomorrow. Now what?
Well, they called for an appeal, and as you know, they acknowledged what the judge said about no penalty, and there's no penalty. But we're going to appeal anyway, just psychologically, because frankly, it's a disgrace. It's a judge that shouldn't have been on the case. He's a highly conflicted judge, and they called for an appeal. So I read it, and I thought it was a fair decision, actually. So I'll do my little thing tomorrow. They can have fun with their political opponent. As you know, I'm under a gag order from a judge. This is the first. This was an attack of a political opponent. And if you take a look at it, I'm not supposed to be talking about it, so I won't. I'm the first president and probably one of the first candidates in history that's under attack with a gag order. And they ought to find out what that's all about. And this is a long way from finished. And I respect the court's opinion. I think it was actually a very good opinion for us because you saw what they said. But they invited the appeal, and the appeal is on the bigger issue. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out well. We beat Jack Smith. He's back, I hope, in The Hague, but I don't think he should be there either. He puts people in very bad positions, like giving people death penalties. I will tell you, Jack, he is a disgrace. We won all of those cases. We won most of the other cases, or they're limping along. We've had a lot of lawfare. These are all people that understand what's going on here very badly. This was an attack on the Republican Party. This was an attack on the Republican candidate who just won an election by record numbers, the highest number of Republican votes by far ever got. And we won all swing states, 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by millions of people. And that was the real vote. And I said it a long time ago, the real vote is that. And they tried to stop that from happening. They tried to stop this election from happening, or to bloody somebody up so badly they couldn't win. And the people got it. And again, we won by the largest number. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. It was conclusive. It was a massive, they say, the most consequential election in 129 years. And these people, the people know everything that you're asking. They've been studying this for 2 years as it went along, and hopefully it'll never happen again, an attack on a political opponent. So Peter will be appealing the decision. They're asking for an appeal.
Flooding quickly.
And that's on the fact, on what's going to happen. much more importantly than tomorrow.
Off the top, you mentioned the Carter funeral today. What were you talking to Barack Obama about?
He did look very friendly, I must say.
I thought you guys hated each other.
I didn't realize it, how friendly it looked. I saw it at work just a little while ago. We tried to get in and I said, boy, they look like two people that like each other. And we probably do. We have little different philosophies, right? But we probably do. I don't know, we just got along. But I got along with just about everybody on that. We met backstage, as you know, before we went on. And I thought it was a beautiful service, but we all got along very well, which is good.
In California, what specifically do you think Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass could have done differently to prepare for this $50 billion fire?
We have great governors in this room. You look at the way they're saying, I think I can say without exception. Anybody here ruling here? I mean, without exception, we have great governors here that have done a great job with their states. And I don't think that you'll probably, if there's a weak link, you're going to find it and you're going to be asking the next question to that person. Gavin Newsom had an opportunity to have millions of gallons a week, a day, millions and millions of gallons come down from the north. And I was able to get a federal approval from that, from actually the Department of Commerce of all departments. I didn't realize it would go through Commerce. I would have thought environmental, but it goes through Commerce. I got all of the approvals, and he said, I don't want to sign it. I don't want the water. We don't need the water. I said, you need the water. Your reservoirs are empty, the whole thing. You need the water. That was 5 years ago. And I had it all done. The work was all done. We sent it to him. He refused to sign it. And if you notice yesterday, the hydrants were empty. They didn't have any water, many of them. They said 20%, but now you said 50%, and now none of us have water, and that fire's still raging. He turned that down. I was going to give him unlimited water. It would come down, it really comes down from the north, way up north, including parts of Canada. So much water that they wouldn't know what to do with. Just the opposite would have happened. And that's the reason that this happened. We wouldn't do what we wanted. And we're going to force that upon him now. But it's very late. Because I think it's one of the great catastrophes in the history of our nation. This is not just in Los Angeles. I've never seen anything like that. Devastation. And we're talking about homes that cost $200, $300, $400 million. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. People, and very influential people worldwide. I don't know that they ever go back either, because they weren't happy with California. They weren't happy with Gavin Newsom. They weren't happy with their whole lifestyle there, with the crime being out of control, all the other problems. They were not happy. And it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not they're going to build, or whether somebody else is going to build and build a much lesser home. These were the most expensive homes outside of Palm Beach County. I see that list. Outside of Palm Beach, these were the most expensive homes anywhere in the world. And I don't think I think a lot of them are just not going to go back and build it. Plus, they don't want to be part of the construction. The ship is on fire. They're building a home, another one's building. They're building in front of them, behind them, alongside of them. So I think it's a tragedy. I think it's an incredible tragedy. It's also a tragedy for a tax base. And the governors know exactly what I'm talking about. I'd like to hear anybody who talks about that. But if you're the governor of a state and you lost thousands of very rich people that were paying a lot of taxes and weren't happy about it, and weren't happy about what's happened in California. You destroyed an enemy battleship. Greatness, but the ship is on fire. Politicians. I think that Gavin is largely incompetent, and I think the mayor is largely incompetent, and probably both of them are just stone cold incompetent. What they've done is terrible. Would anybody have a comment on that? Because when you talk about losing the tax base, you're losing a lot of. You lose a lot of those people permanently. Those people pay billions of dollars in taxes.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
They'll be moving to a lot of your states. They'll be moving to Florida, I can tell you, I know that. But they're going to be moving to, you're going to pick up a lot, Texas. So it's a rough situation. I think it's one of the great catastrophes in the history of our country. Not even believable.
President Biden's term almost over. Before he goes, there's talk that he might trade a Gitmo al-Qaeda detainee, Mohammed Rahim, for 3 American hostages held by the Taliban. Should he do that?
Well, I haven't looked at it. I will be looking at it to show me.
For 30 years, thousands of individuals have turned to Jan Dill's attorneys at law. When you're injured, the bills are piling up, and you're overwhelmed. You need someone on your side. The Jan Dill's team won't take no for an answer. They take on insurance companies large and small to get you the fair compensation you deserve.
Hi, I'm Jan Dills. If you or a loved one has been injured in an accident, call us today.
Your future is at your fingertips. Take advantage of the flexibility and diversity of
Tomorrow morning, they're showing me that there's a trade on. And trades, I have not been in favor of the trades they've made, but I'll be taking a look tomorrow. We'll announce something tomorrow.
Don Jr. and some of your team just got back from Greenland. What's the price tag?
Well, maybe no price tag. Look, we're going to have to see what happens because Denmark, we need this for national security. We need Greenland very badly. You look at the Russian ships, the China ships, they're all over the place. They're, surrounding. Now, they have for a long time. That's a lane. But we need that for national security. So I don't know that Denmark has any right, title, and interest, so we're going to find that. But I can tell you, you saw the clips that were released. The people of Greenland would love to become a state of the United States of America. We were greeted with tremendous love and affection and respect. The people would like to be a part of the United States. Now, Denmark maybe doesn't like it, but then we can't be too happy with Denmark, and maybe things have to happen with respect to Denmark having to do with tariffs. Because they have to do this, I think, for the free world. We need that to protect the free world. It's very important, and getting more important every year.
When you were with all the Republican senators,